What's going on, everyone? We are Tottenham TV here, back again with another live stream for you people. And of course, we have Bryan Gil joining us in the studio yet again today. How are we doing today, Bryan? Are we doing okay?
We're doing good today. Feeling a little bit better, clean shaven, and feeling a little bit younger. So all good, and always a pleasure to be with you, buddy. How are you?
I'm all right. New shaven Bryan, new you?
Yeah, I doubt it. I doubt it.
You doubt it?
Highly doubt it.
Well, you came in this morning thinking, getting itchy fingers about some signings. So I'm thinking, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Bryan's getting on it again.
Do you know, I was going actually quite quietly, and I said, I wonder if I'll do it today, or I'll see how long I can hold off without mentioning it. And then you've mentioned it within the first minute. So yeah, no, I'm sure we'll dive into that a little bit later with the topics we have. But yeah, I'm starting my senses are tingling about a certain topic. Let's just put it that way. Yep.
You got a kind of
Spidey
sixth sense. You got a sixth sense about it, Bryan.
My spidey senses are tingling.
Absolutely, and there has been quite a bit of transfer news reported over the last 12 hours or so. It's going to be very much surrounding very similar players we talked to yesterday, but it's interesting to hear some of the updates, especially about a certain player. But let's start with, we're going to look first of all at the updates about Raphinha. And the updates about Rafinha, according to the Evening Standard, Tottenham have now made contact with Leeds United over a potential deal with Rafinha, with Gary Jacob following that on with the Times, saying Tottenham have made contact with Leeds regarding Rafinha, with the player keen on playing Champions League football. Leeds are expecting an approach from Arsenal. However, the winger is believed to favour a move to Bastogne. Obviously, that's not groundbreaking news. But with Rafinha looking to potentially play Champions League football next season, could that put us in the driving seat, or do you think with Arsenal maybe a bit more desperate to sign him, they maybe could push the boat out a bit, and maybe they could get a march on us, and we could be looking at other signings like Richarlison and people like him? So does that put Arsenal in the driving seat, or do you think the fact that we have Champions League football, we have that extra thing to offer him, does that put us in the driving seat?
I think you got to look at it with the player coming out and saying Champions League is what I'm looking for. Then it's got to put us in the driving seat, hasn't it? You would think. The only thing that them lot down the road could obviously answer or provide is a higher wage, as we've seen what they've done with Ozil, Aubameyang, the ridiculous wage they put Nketiah on. I think Arsenal are more eager to offer a higher wage than we will. But if it's Champions League football he wants and it's England he stays, it should only be us, really, shouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And especially because we need the bigger squad, maybe. Arsenal maybe could afford to play a weakened team in Europa League, especially in the early stages, whereas we're playing Champions League football. We need pretty much another 11 that can come in of similar ability. And we've obviously heard from Conte, from Alistair Gold, that Conte wants to get the idea out of the players' heads that there's a starting 11, and he wants to get the idea in their heads that, look, there's going to be a squad, we're going to have to use every player, there's going to be a lot of rotation. So I think from that point of view, Raphinha is going to see Tottenham as an exciting project, and maybe we can convince him to come to Spurs. As much as maybe Arsenal at the moment, with the way they're going about their business, they might be a bit more desperate for him, just to maybe show some ambition, and the fact that we've got other targets. So maybe we're waiting to see how those other targets pan out before we go in on Raphinha. But if we wait too long, we can end up losing him.
Well, this is the risk, and we keep talking about this with the squad, and like you said, what he said, we don't want to have it as a starting 11 and then a backup or competition. You look at players, Liverpool and Man City. When Liverpool signed Diaz and Jota, they already knew that they have a very firm front three, but they still go there and they use rotation. And look how far they advance in certain cup competitions. Look, they're regularly competing on all fronts, and that's what we want. That's what we want. Not saying we're there yet, but if we're gonna do it, it's gonna be by squad rotation, game management, people playing certain minutes, and this is what we need to do. It's not a first 11 and you can't dislodge this player because he's better than you. We need to have a squad and utilise it.
Yeah, I can 100% agree with that. It'd be interesting to see how serious we are on someone like Raphinha, because he is going to cost between 55 to 60 million pounds, you know, considering the quality of player, how well he's done at Leeds. And that would be a very serious show of intent if we were to get him through the door. But also does still beg the question in terms of how does Harry Kane get a rest if we do go big on someone like Raphinha, because he isn't, unlike Richarlison, he isn't used to playing up front that much. So where does he fit in if Kane needs a rest? How do we go about playing that front three? Does it mean Raphinha going on the left and then putting Son up top? Maybe that's a possibility, because Raphinha has played on the left quite a lot. Or is it a case of we need to sign a striker as well as signing Raphinha, and that could cost an extra 50 million?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, I agree with you that if Kane does rest, it looks like Son gets pushed up front, and then Raphinha or a winger, we'll use Raphinha in this instance, will take that position. But we've got to the time now where I don't like it when we do this. Like, for instance, I used to say when Kane got injured, you're already one player, obviously a huge player down. Then you move Son out of his best position to vacate or to fill the vacated position, and then someone from the bench who can't even get into the first team. It's like you're making the squad weaker twice by moving Son out of his best position and then putting someone who plays in Son's position but can't get in the first team. So I've had enough of this. If we want to compete, we need serious competition in all areas of the field, and that's what we said. We've been saying that a backup striker or competition is coming in, and Richarlison could do that part. So it may be, why not get Richarlison and a Raphinha?
Because that's going to be 100 million on two players.
You're right, but obviously we have players coming out, players leaving the squad. There is Champions League money. There is this 150 million. This is what the money is there for. I know that 150 million was said it wasn't going all on the first team. It will go on the ladies' team. It will go on other stuff within the company and within the stadium or within ENIC and building around the area. But if we want to seriously compete, we need a serious squad to compete with the best, and that means spending money.
That's true. And talking about getting Richarlison / Raphinha, we thought we would look at both of them players. We thought we'd a bit similar to how we were looking at Basuma in statistics. We're going to look at Richarlison and Raphinha and compare how they stack up statistically wise, and maybe it can give us a better judgment of who would be a better signing for us from a statistical point of view. I've got two analysis modes going on. Obviously, I'm going to compare last season, how they both performed.
Yep.
But because Richarlison played majority up front last season as opposed to on the left wing, the stats can be a bit skewed. So I'm going to compare him to last season, and I've got another one comparing Raphinha from last season to Richarlison of the season before when he played predominantly left wing, and maybe there's a bit of a difference. So first of all, here's the on screen now. You can probably see it on your screen. Is that visible for you, Brian?
Once I make it full screen properly, let's have a look. Yes.
Okay, good. So we can see here, this is comparing Richarlison and Raphinha from last season. Statistically, obviously, Raphinha got 11 goals compared to Richarlison's 10. Assists-wise, Raphinha only got 3 compared to Richarlison's 5, both in struggling teams as well.
Yep.
So it's not like one's playing for Man City and one's playing for a team load. So they're both in a massive relegation battle. So I think it's fair that you can compare them both. In terms of XG, Raphinha just about edged him out, 11.2 to 10.2 in Richarlison, which is interesting considering you'd think Richarlison would probably get in better goal scoring positions considering he was up front, but Raphinha actually had the higher XG, which I thought was quite telling.
Yep.
But it was from maybe a more offensive side. Expected assists though, also Raphinha, even though he got less assists, he was definitely getting more expected assists per 90, which is very interesting. But it says here, despite Raphinha having more XG, Richarlison was getting more XG per 90 because I think he played less games. So despite Raphinha getting 1 more goal, he actually was from 5 more games. So that obviously has to be taken into account. In terms of shots and shots on target, Raphinha having more shots on goal, but Richarlison having more shots on target. So Richarlison's a bit more of an accurate, clinical.
Quick question: would that count? Because you got to remember, Raphinha takes a lot of free kicks for Leeds.
Yep.
Does that count?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so that obviously, that will obviously affect that, because I don't think Richarlison takes any, or if he did for Everton, very, very few compared to Raphinha.
Yeah, that's definitely true, and it shows here that Richarlison's a bit more accurate when he shoots. Rafinha shoots a bit more often, but Richarlison's getting it on target a bit more often. So he's a bit more clinical. 28% shooting percentage compared to 24%, so quite a big difference there. In terms of passing, though, I think this is definitely due to Richarlison playing up front, but Rafinha passes a lot more than Richarlison. 25 passes compared to 12 for Richarlison. In terms of assists, Richarlison does beat him out, but key passes is a massive difference. Rafinha only gets 2. Rafinha gets 2 key passes per 90. Richarlison under 1. So that's quite kind of, in terms of getting involved in build-up and setting up his teammates for good quality opportunities, Rafinha is definitely a lot better, albeit it's because Richarlison was playing mostly up front, so he's getting set up mostly than setting up.
Yeah, I think we got to look at this as well. Like I said, Leeds, not just the position they're in the relegation struggle, Leeds were just attack, weren't they? Whereas, especially under Rafa Benitez, they were a lot more pragmatic, Everton, and a lot more direct. So that just eliminates the midfield and getting forward in advance. It was hoofs up there and holding the ball up. So I think Leeds being, let's face it, they're one of the most attacking teams in the country. Even with the league position, they were just under Bielsa, attack. So I think this is, like you said, we'll check with the other stats that you do, but I think this is having a huge factor into these stats.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're because Leeds are definitely more attacking. Although I think they did go a bit more conservative when no, I'm talking about Leeds when Jesse Marsch came in. They did tighten up a bit. They weren't quite like when how they were as Bielsa. But yeah, you're right. Definitely the two kind of footballing styles, especially when he was under Benitez, definitely makes a difference. Progressive passes, Raphinha much higher than Richarlison, 5 compared to 1.21. Shot creating actions, Raphinha is much higher, 3.67 compared to 2.21. But defensive actions as well, which is I think is quite interesting. Tackles, Raphinha is higher, but Richarlison is a better tackler. He wins more tackles despite Raphinha attempting more tackles, which I think is interesting. Pressures, Richarlison wins on pressures and successful pressures. Interceptions, Raphinha is a bit higher. So both definitely hard workers when it comes to being a forward. Seems like Richarlison a bit better at making tackles, interceptions though compared to Raphinha, which is interesting.
Yep, I mean I think what I will add on that is. With Rafinha, I think his timing and anticipation is slightly better, whereas Richarlison usually loses his body strength, doesn't he, as a defensive tool. So I think he gives away more fouls than actually making tackles. So I can see why Rafinha slightly might edge this one. Yeah,
it's very interesting. Tackles plus interceptions. Rafinha actually wins out, but in terms of being better at those things, it seems like Richarlison attempts it maybe a bit less, but actually wins more. So he maybe conserves his energy in a more smarter way. And in terms of dribbles and stuff, successful dribbles, Rafinha way out in front. Again, being a winger, he's going to have more attempts, and as it shows, he makes double the dribbling attempts than Richarlison does. But the Richarlison has a better percentage in terms of 46% successful dribbles compared to 39 for Raphinha. Carries, again, Raphinha as expected, a bit higher. Carries into the final third, again, Raphinha is higher. But it's hard to do an exact comparison, which is why. These metrics, it may be understandable Raphinha is high, but if we go to the next one, this compares Richarlison from the season before to last season's Raphinha. This is when Richarlison predominantly was playing as a left winger compared to up front. Bit easier to judge, but Raphinha does still win out on a lot of the metrics. That season, Richarlison only scored 7 goals and 3 assists, so it wasn't as impressive. This was during the no-fan season. But shots on target again, Richarlison getting more than Raphinha. Again, Rafinha getting more shots though. So again, Richarlison takes less shots but more on target. So definitely more of a more accurate shooter. Yep. Richarlison seems to be. When it comes to passing, key passes, I think his key passes actually went down compared to being up front, which is interesting. So when he was left wing, he was having less key passes. And progressive passes as well, much less. When it comes to shot creating actions, Rafinha is still way out in front when Richarlison was winger. Tackles, again, very similar. Rafinha attempting more, but Richarlison winning more. Interceptions, Rafinha again, he's the one who comes out on top, which I find quite interesting. And then when it comes to dribbling and stuff, this is where there's a difference. Now, Richarlison actually attempts more dribbles and is actually a better dribbler than Rafinha.
That surprises me.
Which is quite interesting. He actually has a 55% dribbling success rate when he's at left wing. So also his dribbling is a lot better when he was at left wing than compared to when he was up front. So judging by these stats, definitely Rafinha comes out on top, I would say. I think but there are also, I think, suggestions when you look at these stats. So if you put Richarlison in a better team, he actually could be he's a more accurate shooter. He's actually a better dribbler when he's playing on the left wing, and they both work pretty much just as hard as each other by and large. So not clear cut who's definitely the better player, but looking at the stats, you'd probably just about say Rafinha is probably the better player, but it'd be interesting to see what either of them would do in a better team.
Exactly, yeah. And with, let's face it, Antonio Conte. I think there's a couple of people put in the comments as well, is that I think we need to go for an out-and-out striker as well. So there are a few people saying that, but if it is to play more centrally on a more regular occasion, I think I would just have to go with Richarlison. But it's opened my eyes a bit for playing on the wing a bit with Rafinha. His defensive stats were actually quite impressive to me.
Yeah, they were. He's definitely definitely is a lot of a harder worker than maybe you would have thought he was. Everyone knows how hard Richarlison works. It's not made such a big deal though, the work rate of Rafinha, and clearly he's also a very hard worker. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below. Maybe I'll put a poll out. Who'd you rather, Rafinha or Richarlison? And I'll come back to it and see what the results are. So let me put a poll in the comments.
There we go.
Richarlison or Raphinha. Let's see what people say. And then we'll move on to the next topic. All right. So get voting, people. Let's see what people are saying. And now we're going to move on from the Raphinha story. We're going to be talking about the one and only Christian Eriksen yet again. And this is quite, I think, unbelievable, because even from, if you're comparing it from yesterday, there was already quite a lot of conflicting reports coming from this story. Obviously, we brought you the news that we've heard that Eriksen has a verbal agreement with Tottenham, and that he could well be on his way back to White Hart Lane and back to N17. That's what we're hearing. A lot of reliable journalists have been obviously contradicting that with their news. Ali Gold saying we haven't been in contact with Eriksen for 2 weeks and things like that. Now, even just since yesterday, I'm going to go through the conflicting. This is just since our stream yesterday, where there was already a bunch of conflicting news from Romano to Ali Gold to all these. So this is as of yesterday. Tom Barkley of The Sun says Tottenham are set to resist a move for Eriksen as Conte is happy with his four centre mids in Basuma, Højbjerg, Bentancur and Skip. Rob Dawson of ESPN says Tottenham remain Christian Eriksen's most likely destination according to their sources. Gary Jacob of The Times says Christian Eriksen is considering an offer from Man United after Tottenham distance themselves from claims that they are set to re-sign the Danish midfielder. Jamie Jackson says of The Guardian says Christian Eriksen favours a move back to Tottenham or a new contract at Brentford after rejecting Man United. And Fabrizio Romano says Tottenham have not made an official offer to Christian Eriksen. He's not a priority for the club right now, even though 2 days ago he said that Eriksen has three offers on the table, one from Tottenham, Brentford and Man United. So that would imply there has been an official bid, but now he's saying there hasn't been an official bid. So the question is, does anyone really know what is going on with Christian Eriksen? Because everyone seems to be contradicting each other. Obviously, we have our own sources. That's been contradicted by everyone, but everyone's contradicting each other. So who can we believe right now?
Exactly. I mean, what I was going to ask you a question about with those sources you've just mentioned. Obviously, the people that are well known on Twitter, minus Fabrizio, who's the one that you'd say out of those lists, like the Gary Jacobs and Matt Laws and all the other ones?
But Gary Jacob is reliable. Usually, when he broke the news about Basuma, and obviously that was very, very true. Then Ali Gold, obviously we know how reliable he is. But he's been on holiday for a few days, and we know Eriksen is currently on holiday. But he said, I watched Ali Gold's video today, and he said that he'd obviously reached out to both camps, and he said from Tottenham point of view it's gone quiet, and from Eriksen's point of view he said he's surprised that why Tottenham haven't gone back to him in 2 weeks, but that's also gone quiet at the moment. From Ali Gold's update as well, I found it a bit weird when he said, I don't know whether, I'm just thinking about it logically, he said that Eriksen did want to remain in London, but now he has so many offers, that's no longer a requirement. He can actually move outside of London because he has so many offers. But I'm thinking, like, does that make sense? Because surely you'd only say a preference of where you want to stay if you didn't have that many offers. Because
to narrow them down.
Exactly, to narrow them down. If you did have that many offers, surely then you could say, actually, I've got those many offers. I'm just going to narrow it down to London because I've got so many. If I need to choose, I'm going to choose between narrowing it down to where I prefer to live. But if he didn't have so many offers, then surely he can't be picky in terms of I want to just stay in London because he doesn't have that many offers. So he's really restricting himself if he just wants to stay in London. So I didn't quite understand that update from Ali Gold.
I mean, obviously, we've had many transfer windows where we've been left guessing what's going to happen or who's coming, who's not coming, who's going, who's not going. But this story is just, like you said, in the space of 24 hours, it's just been crazy. The amount of conflicting reports and leaks and ITKs coming out of everything. Who knows what is going on with here? I really don't know. Like I said, I got into the place where I was ready to accept Eriksen back myself. Obviously, I've mentioned why I wasn't keen on him coming back. But now this is all just up in the air again. It's like, how do we know what the hell is going on? And it's another player where this deal just looks like it's dragging on and on and on again. And we're just going to have to wait and see. But I'm starting to get concerned, and not just about Eriksen.
And Sean Walsh has just even now has tweeted saying that all of a sudden Brentford could be front runners. He's saying that Eriksen, he said on Eriksen, he's not the most reliable because it's 90 minutes, not the best source, but he says he has told Brentford he was probably leaving. Brentford made a renewed bid. Thomas Frank met with him and are now back in the race. Spurs and Man United are interested, but they are not, but he is not a priority for them. Now, likely he doesn't return to Tottenham. Brentford will get their man. So now we've gone from Man United being front runners to Tottenham being front runners, to now Brentford being front runners, according to all these sources. It's hard to keep up with what really is happening. And I'm thinking about it more in terms of Eriksen having a verbal agreement with Spurs. I mean, it is entirely possible that they do have a verbal agreement. He just hasn't pulled the trigger on decided he definitely wants to come to us if we're not, even though there's a verbal agreement, doesn't necessarily mean he feels like he's 100% sure. Maybe just a verbal agreement on wage package and all this kind of stuff, but he's not 100% sure yet that he wants to definitely return to Tottenham. That's entirely possible.
It's entirely possible. You've also got to look at, like I said yesterday, he's a free transfer, so there's no immediate rush that this deal has to get done before September the 1st. Obviously, if there are a lot of teams dealing with this, you want to start getting this deal over the line if there are serious bidders in there, and we want him that badly. But there is no real rush like to get a Bastogne or a Richarlison or a Raphinha or a Spence. These players need to be wrapped up by September the 1st. Yes, we've got a lot of time, but pre-season is, 10 days, a week away, 10 days away. This is when we wanted players in. Yes, there's 3, but with this Eriksen one, it's getting to the point that it's getting boring to talk about. It's getting boring to talk about, and not just because of what's going on. It's just all the conflicting evidence or reports that are coming out. It's just like, where do you go with it?
Yeah, it's just interesting because we obviously... Sorry. Apologies. We obviously had got the news from our news source about Eriksen, but then all these other stuff came out. But, like, it's hard to know which one's right because everyone's conflicting each other. So everyone's saying we're wrong because of this report, but then this report's also being conflicted by these other reports.
Yep.
So
it's going to continue with this one.
Yeah, it seems as though just have to wait and see until Eriksen finally decides to make it public what his intentions are. It seems the ball's completely in his court at the moment, but the Spurs just, I don't know. Do we think that Spurs are definitely not interested in him at the moment? The way things are being said, because I think. I can't believe we would turn down the opportunity to re-sign him based on what we need. Surely it's too good of an opportunity to turn down to not be seriously interested.
So there's 2 other things to add into this. You got to remember, first of all, there's the one where apparently another twist in this is that Eriksen does want to come to Spurs, but his representatives want a higher payout. And they're looking elsewhere. So it could be them saying, listen, we've got more money here, which is more lucrative for you. And then you got to look at it. He said he's on his holiday. He's left his agent in charge. Eriksen might have been okay in this, and it could be agent talk just doing what they do. There are so many...
Try and get a higher bid from other people, you never know.
I think once... and then you've got to add the other thing in that apparently Conte, and this is another thing that's going on Twitter, has said that he's happy with the 4 midfielders he's got. And there's some weight behind that because we all know, like he did at Inter or like he does at Chelsea, his creativity comes from the wing-backs. So it could be a huge smokescreen, and we're going for wing-backs secretly under. So there's just so many loopholes in this.
Yeah, that's true. But Eriksen in the season they won the league, in the second half of that season, he did start, I think, every single game for Antonio Conte as they went on to win the league, and he was one of by the end of it, he was one of his most trusted players. So definitely he sees the value in having someone like Eriksen in the team, and he's had obviously he has people like Brozovic as well, Barella, really good technicians in the centre of midfield. So it's not all just about having people who are strong physically and good defensively. Although when he won the league with Chelsea, he had Matic and Kante. Obviously, they're two those kind of players, but he also appreciates creativity as well. I remember Fabregas played a big role in that season as well, coming in and doing a really good job for the team. So I'll be surprised if he doesn't want at least one of those type of players in this midfield, at least as an option.
The one thing I will just add on to that with the second half of the season where he played regularly is he used him, but he already had the 2 wing-backs that he knew that he trusted and had, where he hasn't got them yet at Tottenham.
Yeah.
So I think if you look at it, don't get me wrong, he may want to use a bit of creativity in the Eriksen kind of way, but I think where he's looking to solve his creativity mainly, and always has been the wing backs. So I think that's a bigger necessity to sort out and get locked in before we sign an attacking midfielder.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's look at a couple more super chats before we move on to the next topic. This is from Matt Card. He says, big up, lads. Looking fresh, Brian. Big up to you.
Thank you.
Ryan Isaacs Kennard says, good afternoon, guys. Got an early finish today at work. Bergwijn gone. Rafinha seems the obvious replacement, not someone I'd go for first choice. Well, I mean, there are very not many players better than Rafinha to get through the door. So He might not be the first choice, but he's got to be up there.
He has. I mean, there's a lot of people now talking about Anthony, obviously from Ajax, and that could be part of the Bergwijn deal. Who knows? There's a lot of people, but there are a lot of people. And if I remember rightly, I think Ryan is definitely one that wants Richarlison. So I think when we look at this poll that you put up, he would be in that Richarlison camp. So I think that's where he's going with that, with his first choice.
Yeah. We have a super chat from Krista Scorpion Island. He says, if we sell Bergwijn and Lucas, I think we should get Raphinha and Richarlison. Big up, lads, and come on, you Spurs. I mean, I would love that. I just don't see that as being reality. I think Lucas is staying, actually. I think Bergwijn's going to go. I think Lucas is happy at Tottenham. He knows his role. He's got he loves being part of the of the squad. I think he's got good friends here, and I think I don't think he's one of these players who demands a starting role or anything like that. I think he knows his role and what his use is in the squad. So I do think he's going to stay this summer.
The thing I must say, what I've seen mentioned or written or stated, I think he wants his heart is set that once this contract's done, he's going back to Brazil and Sao Paulo. That's where he wants to go, and I don't see that happening this summer. And like you said, he is one of those players that loves the club and will put in a shift for the club. We know we need an upgrade on him. I love him. I love him as a Spurs player, but we do need to upgrade on him. And hopefully, Bergwijn looks like the more viable target going out, doesn't it? This one looks set in stone. Wheels are in motion. And then, Lucas, I think, has just got his heart set on going back to Sao Paulo from what I read. And
maybe in the future.
Once I think he's got 2 years left on his contract. Yeah. And then it'll be goodbye, I'm going back to Brazil, is what I think and what I read, I think.
That probably makes the most sense. Roberto Villejas says, I don't know which has worse accuracy, Apple rumours or transfer rumours. What Apple rumours? Is that just... What's Apple rumours?
Well, I'm thinking it means Apple when they're about to release stuff.
Oh, like that? Or
iPhones
just...
and whatever. That's all I'm thinking.
Okay. I don't know what's worse. Probably transfer rumours, I would say. There's nothing worse than transfer rumours when it comes to accuracy.
Well, when it comes to being a Samsung fan and everything being Samsung, I wouldn't have a clue what Apple do because everything I have is Samsung. But yeah, we're used to this with Spurs transfers, aren't we? It's all the goddamn time, every single season. So it's not going to change.
Frankly, Tottenham says we need a creative midfielder. We need a plan B. I completely agree. I don't even necessarily see him as a plan B as well. As much as obviously 3-4-3. I don't see him being a regular starter, potentially in the double pivot. But I think with his quality, I see him first of all against teams in the bottom half or in the lower end of the table when we really need to. We know we're going to dominate possession, and we know we're going to be the ones with the onus on us. I actually can see him playing in that pivot, and I actually can see him playing in the front three as well, in Kulusevski's place, or even potentially on the left, if need be, because those roles are very central. In terms of how Conte likes them, and the width comes from the wing backs, they're a bit more central. Eriksen can play that role, so I see him getting a lot of game time. And I'm not saying he's even in our best 11, he's definitely in there, but I'm saying I don't necessarily see him as a player who's just a plan B. I see him starting a lot of games.
Yeah, he could do, and even if he doesn't start them, he's what an asset to come off the bench if teams are playing low block and we can't break them down. And if there are certain teams that we know are going to play that way, then he is the key that could unlock the door for us, and he could be in the first team for that game to do the damage. And I think he's going to be he will be a useful player to the squad. I don't see him being a regular first teamer, but I do see him getting a lot of game time.
I agree. If he does come at the moment, we don't know. Charlie Massey says Anthony Bergwijn swap deal ? It probably would have to be Bergwijn plus cash, I'd assume, for Anthony.
Yeah,
because Ajax is a very important player for Ajax, isn't he?
Immensely.
If we're to include Bergwijn in the deal, it would definitely have to be plus cash. I'd have to, but I think he could also be another option if Raphinha and Richarlison prove to be too difficult. Anthony definitely is must be an option, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's tempted by linking up again with Ten Hag.
Yeah, that's the big rumour, isn't it? That he will be Manchester United bound, but I would love to see him at Spurs. I would love to see him at Spurs. And you look at the Bergwijn deal, especially when it comes to Paratici now, this is how he does his deals. A lot of his deals are player plus cash exchanges. So I think there are some legs in this one.
All right. The next topic now we're going to be talking about is Bryan Gil, and he has been subject to some talk, and Fabrizio Romano says that Marseille are looking at the potential loan deal for Bryan Gil going into next season. Obviously, he was on loan at Valencia for 6 months last season. They were very interested in taking him for one reason or another. That didn't happen. It looks as though at the moment they're not going to either go for a permanent or another loan deal. We don't know yet. Maybe they will. But I think one big thing at the moment is a lot of clubs, all the clubs except for Premier League teams, are struggling for money, and that's making it very difficult to sell abroad. And unless a Premier League team comes in front of your players, it's very difficult to sell permanently. But Marseille obviously are in the Champions League, finished second last season to PSG in the French league, had a very good season. I see the French league actually as a bit of an underrated league. I think it's got more quality than people give it credit for, and it's a lot more physical than people give it credit for. So if Bryan Gil would to go to Marseille and do well, maybe that'd be a good loan move for him. But when we're judging Bryan Gil, it would be another probably season where you're still not sure whether he can make the step up to the Premier League, because French league is still a different level to the Premier League, isn't it? So is that a loan deal, do you think? What is it? Would you say, okay, just do it because it's good for his development, or would you say, actually, we don't learn too much if he goes there?
I'm definitely, if he goes on loan, I want it to be in England, whether it be a Norwich City, for instance, someone that will be challenging to get back into the Premiership, or a Premier League team. You can't have players that you've brought in at a young age and you want to get them ready for the English game without giving them minutes in the English game. He looked bright on a couple of occasions when he came on for us under Nuno, but then obviously it fizzled out and he went on loan to Spain. And I don't get what we would have learned from him going back to Spain, a league that we bought him from, that he's comfortable in, where he knows what's happening. He needs to be in a more physical league. I'm actually surprised what you mentioned about the French league being a bit more physical. I didn't realise that myself.
There's a lot of talent coming out of there right now, which I think is going under the radar. And I think there's a lot of talent in the French league which goes untapped. And I think that it's a very underrated league, in my opinion. All despite the fact that PSG always steamroll it, I actually think there's a lot more talent there than people give him credit for.
Well, for me as well, like I said, he's a young kid who needs to, if he's going to stay at the club, we need to get him familiar with England, whether it be a loan with a Premier League club or a high Championship club. He needs to, I don't know how he's been getting on with the language, the lifestyle, because he's just been in Spain for the last 6 months. So I think he needs to have, listen, if we need to get him out of the books and there's no English team, then obviously there's no option if we need to clear the decks and clear some money up.
Would you be happy with him in the squad again for the next season, or do you think he's just not ready?
I don't think he's ready. And what we have learned? We learned in Spain, he played well for Valencia on occasions, but then you go back into the Premier League, which is a completely different animal, a lot more physical, and this is what we were led to believe he was struggling with. So how would he have improved that in Spain? Getting more familiar with the English game. So for me, I think he has to go back out on loan. There may be a player in there that we're waiting to see, but I don't think we're going to see that player until he's got a considerable amount of English minutes under his belt.
Yeah, I completely agree. And he actually seemed to lose his place at Valencia as well after a time. He was starting a lot at the beginning, and then near the end of the season, he kind of... And I'm not sure if they knew what to do with him, because they were playing him up front and then playing him on the right, and they weren't really sure what his best position was. And that was always a problem for Tottenham, wasn't it? We were playing him attacking midfield, we were playing him out on the left, and he did well in some early Conference League games, but never really did it, especially in Premier League. Or I remember he'd had one good performance in the Carabao Cup against Wolves, but he just didn't seem like he was ready to make the step up to Premier League football just yet. Did well with Valencia, but I don't know. I'm worried that maybe... I'm not saying he's a rubbish player or anything, but I just worried that maybe we got in terms of getting a player who's going to be suited to Premier League. I fear we might have got this one wrong. For me, the way his style of play, unless he really bulks up a bit and is able to shield the ball and when he's dribbling, hold people off and stuff like that, which at the moment, especially when it comes to Premier League, he doesn't seem to be able to do that. Unless he's going to develop that side of his game, I don't know if he's ever going to be suited to Premier League the way he plays.
Do you know what? From the minute this transfer was made, and Lamela was in the swap as well. I just have not understood this transfer.
Yeah.
In the slightest bit. I mean, if just even going back to it, we couldn't sign Tomiyasu because he was at the Olympics, but we signed Bryan Gil, who was at the very same Olympics, and he got Lamela off the books. We didn't need a player of his ilk at the time. The whole thing doesn't smell right to me, or didn't smell right at the time. It's
22 million plus Lamela now seems a very steep price.
Exactly. Was it? You said 25 mil, wasn't it, or 22?
22 million plus Lamela.
So even if Lamela had stayed another year, you would have got his shithousery. You would have got his all the attributes that he brings. But yeah, I just don't understand this transfer. Haven't from minute one, and who knows? It could turn around to be good. But I remember myself and Will Stewart saying this the second he had signed, and I still don't get it. But hopefully he'll get some English minutes, and we'll be proven wrong. But I don't think we'll find anything out about him, whether it be France, Germany, Holland, wherever. He needs English game time.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if he doesn't get that again. What happens going into next season, how he develops. But look, if he does go to Marseille, then I think it would probably be good for his development overall. But whether it means he's going to be ready for Premier League football, I don't know. But moving on, let's talk about the next one. That's Harry Winks and Jack Rosser of The Sun. He says that Everton, Southampton and Sevilla are all monitoring the Harry Winks situation at Spurs, who are willing to listen to offers of 20 million. Do you think, considering we're having such trouble, for example, like Lo Celso, he's much more talented than Winks, isn't he? We're struggling to get 20 million for him. Ndombele, I know he's on big wages, but we're struggling to even get interest in him. There's a lot of these players who are more talented than Winks and have proven to be over the last year or so. Yet they're struggling to get buyers. Yet we're demanding 20 million for Winks. Do you think we're being a bit ambitious with that price? Do you think maybe it has to be somewhere near 10 million?
Yeah, I've been trying to fight off saying what I'm about to say, but you've left me no other choice, Simeon. I've been saying since yesterday and today that and I'll probably come in for a little of a heat here in the comments, or a lot of respect, love, or whatever we'll see. My Levy senses are tingling. My Levy senses have started to tingle. And listen, I'm not going full nuclear, and I'm not saying, I said I'm going to go easy till pre-season or the career tour. If you look at it, we've signed, don't get me wrong, the 2 additions plus Foster that have come in have been good. But it's 2 free transfers and a 25 million last season of the contract. Last year of his contract, sorry. A great addition. Don't get me wrong, they are great additions. We all thought, and we all know, that Conte wants his players in before pre-season or in before career, as he said with the South Korea. And we look at it now. We look at the Eriksen rumours dying, or we don't know where they're going. Jed Spence, who we all know we've wanted since the start of the window, or building up throughout the last part of the season. While this has happened, no bid has been made. Then these bids aren't coming in. Now you look at the outgoings and these stupid prices for players. Yes, you can say you can try and put on a price because you want to try and get the best for a player. But how can you put Harry Winks and Lo Celso at the same price? No clubs are biting. If we need to get money in and get money out...
Similar price for Bergwijn as well.
Exactly. These prices, we need to get players out. Listen, we've had this money come in, and fantastic, and let's hope we get to spend it, and we do get to see this week we start bringing players in. But I'm starting to get the feeling that it's repeating itself again. Yes, the 3, and I keep stressing, the 3 players that come in have been wonderful additions, especially Basuma. Then you look at the outgoings. There's none. Roden, Sanchez, with Emerson. These are all, start getting them out and stop. We need to take a hit on some of these players to get them out. We need to, all right, we might have to sacrifice a few million here and there, but that is due to bad recruitment, bad management, and getting these players in and keep handing it. So we're
not the only team who's having trouble selling players.
We're not.
A lot of teams, Man United, Arsenal are giving players away for free because they can't get a fee for them.
Exactly.
So where does that leave us? Do we just look to see what we can get for players, and if we can't get anything, then we just put them in the reserves or something? Or is it a case of we have to try and get rid of them before we can fully move on into the next stage of buying.
I mean, Harry Winks, let's look at the Lo Celso. The Lo Celso, we know that there's keen interest and that we're miles apart. Take a hit. Get a player off the books. I mean, I can't even remember what Lo Celso's wages is, but it's obvious he's not coming back.
Probably
to
like
Tottenham.
70 grand or something.
So there's one. Emerson, we're waiting for developments. Harry Winks, I don't know where people are getting 20 million from. I don't see how he is a 20 million pound player. Listen, if we can get it, if there's one man that can get the money for him, and this is where I will credit Levy, how he gets 18 million for Kevin Wimmer when he went to Stoke. This part he is golden at when it comes to getting value for money. But you've got to start, if we need to clear the decks, we need to start at a lower price. Like I said, this part he can be a genius at, but the lack of activity coming in, and I can see in the comments people saying, yeah, it's just a week old. And I like I said, I get that. I'm not going, this isn't a whole me saying those two words again. It's not that. I'm saying at the moment, we just need to see things happening. The fact that there's been no bid for Spence, the fact that whatever's going on with Eriksen, we don't know about. Richarlison, Raphinha, it's all, again, it's interest. It's Tottenham making progress. Tottenham put in a bid, register your interest, and get things going. You've got this 150 million cash injection that you've openly admitted to the fans and the world, which I don't think also, I mean, it helps us with knowing, yes, they're investing, but obviously for the rest of the world, they're like, oh, Tottenham have had a cash injection.
Well, apparently they had to announce it.
But that's what I'm saying. What it does for us as fans, it's like, brilliant, they're investing. But for all the teams around the world, it's like, oh, there you go, they've got a bit of money to spend. Let's whack a few more million. And we'll have to see. Like I said, pre-season is now what? They come back July the 1st or July the 5th, I think you were saying.
I heard Conte's coming back July 4th or 5th.
So I think beginning of July, they go in the first couple of days and just get weighed and do all that thing, don't they? The after-season weigh-ins and everything like that. But we've said that Conte wanted players in before pre-season and before career. Well, that day is getting very close, especially pre-season. So like I said, this isn't me going full on in and going mad like I normally do. I'm just saying that I'm starting to see Groundhog Day again.
Well, let's hope it doesn't get to that.
Let's hope so.
Look, there's still a long way to go before pre-season starts, and we saw how quickly things can get done with the Basuma deal, which was very under the radar, and then all of a sudden, in a few days, he was a Spurs player. So hopefully Spurs are doing a lot more things under wraps, like that kind of deal, and maybe there's a few surprises in store. In terms of selling, it's just very difficult, isn't it? Because the agent's got to sound out, find the player a new club, and then they've got to negotiate with Levy. They have to get the right price. They're going to be trying to get the best price for them. They're going to try and shave off a few million, and it's going to elongate things. And it might be a case that we don't get to sell them, and a bit like last season. We didn't get rid of the likes of Sissoko. And who else did we sell? We sold Sissoko.
Aurier went on a...
Aurier left on a free. But that was all late in the window.
Yeah.
And maybe this is going to be another case of we just have to wait until late in the window to really get rid of players.
That part, if that is, so be it. But what we've all said that we want our team. We all said when the fixture list comes out, Chelsea second game of the season, away. This is why we need to get the players in early so they get a pre-season under Conte. So these players don't come in late and then they're trying to catch up with what the rest of the team have done. And that's all I'm saying with it. There's people saying we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We don't, or I don't especially. But I'm just saying what I'm seeing is starting to worry me. Not super worry, ultra worry. But like you said, with players going out, we had it in January as well, didn't we? With Dele and Dembele, they're all going out. If that's the way it needs to be, outgoings, fine. But the incomings, they need to start coming in.
Signs getting impatient. You only signed someone on Friday.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like I said, you got to remember these. As I said, these three signings are making that. Well, look, they're changing their ways. They've gone and got three players.
Yeah, but it was only Friday we signed someone.
No, that part I'm completely with you. I am completely, totally. I'm very impressed with the three that we've brought in. But do you remember as well when we went 18 months without signing anyone? Then Jack Clark and Dembele came in straight away, and then it was like nothing. It was like, okay, here we go. And like I said, this is not me going crazy. I'm just saying what I feel at the moment and how it's concerning me. Like I said, we don't know what's going behind closed doors. By the end of this week, we could have Bastogne, we could have Raphinha, for all I know, and fantastic. But I'm saying how things look right now with the lack of official bids going in, and it's just interest here and interest there, and we'll see here and we'll see. That's the bit that's getting me concerned.
Fair enough. I want to read out this tweet from Cody Mack. I love his tweets. They're the best. And he's about Eriksen. He goes, breaking news on Eriksen. Eriksen has agreed personal terms with both Spurs and United, but Spurs and United have both yet to make an approach for the Dane. His preferred destination is London, and he would love to play. Under Ten Hag. Champions League football is not a deal breaker, but must be part of the deal.
This is it.
That's literally sum up the Christian Eriksen situation in one tweet. That's literally it.
Cody Mack's Twitter game is the best, and it's bang on the money, isn't it? It's literally completely. Everything we went through and all the reports you read out and the rumours and the tweets all rolled into one nice, easy summary.
And it's just funny, each update we're getting is just contradicting the last update.
Yeah.
It's not like even in a row we're getting loads that saying it's off and loads saying it's like on, off, like each update, which is really peculiar. So it's interesting to see. Last story we're going to talk about before we're going to get some callers on is some injury update news, and there was some encouraging news brought by Ali Gold today. He says he understands that Ollie Skip has begun his pre-season training program ahead of his return to Hotspur away on Monday, where he will be joined by Jaffet Tanganga and Matt Doherty, which is very interesting. Obviously, Doherty got a bad injury in April. People think he could be out for up to 5 to 6 months, but it looks like he's making a fairly quickish return to that, and he's going to be available for pre-season. Tanganga as well suffered badly with injuries, but he's going to be back. And obviously Ola Skip had surgery. He missed a big chunk of last season, but he's also going to be available. So that's really, really important and really good news. They're all going to be back for pre-season.
It is, and when you were writing that headline up, I was amazed that Doherty was mentioned in that, because from what I was hearing and what was being said is he was out till November. So he must have had a very, very quick recovery, and his physiotherapy must have been very, very advanced, because he's got back to fitness very, very quickly and ahead of schedule. Skip we knew, but it's delighted to hear that he is back, because he is a big player for us, or will become a very big player for us. And Tanganga, I am a fan of his, but he lost all confidence, didn't he, last season? Something happened last season, and who knows, under a Conte pre-season, this could be the making of him. This could be the making with him. We know how extreme, or we've heard how extreme Conte's pre-season is, like we did with Poch. So these three getting a big pre-season under their belt could be absolutely wonderful for the club.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to get... There was I remember the guy who gives us some information. He was talking about Tanganga, and he was saying that he's saying that Conte isn't quite sure on Tanganga's injury record, and he believes that his knee injury is something that could affect him long term, and he's not 100% sure whether he's going to fully recover in terms of being consistently available due to this knee injury, which was a very bad knee injury he got last season, and that gives Conte doubts on Tanganga's future at Tottenham, which is, I think, quite interesting. As much as I'm also a fan of Tanganga, but he does have a really bad injury record ever since he made his debut, and I feel like when he's not playing with confidence, he isn't the same as when he is, and that makes a big difference.
Completely agree, and it's players like this, like Tanganga and Sessegnon, you could put. Where their injury record is horrific, let's be serious, and having them there could, obviously within the squad, could damage the squad. And I mean, by the way, they pick up injuries, and it could be we desperately need them. Tanganga, a knee injury is very, very hard to recover from, obviously, especially a young age, especially if it's confidence. With his confidence being as fragile as it was, I really want him to succeed at Spurs, and I think his position is at centre-back. Or right centre back, but obviously he's not getting that because of Romero. I really hope it works for Tanganga, but if Conte's getting worried about it, and if there is one more big injury, you've got to start thinking about it, haven't you, and cutting your losses.
Yeah, I agree with that. But in terms of Doherty as well, how important is it for you that he is back for pre-season, considering the form he was showing when he was, before he did get injured? He was, one of our most informed players and was playing really, really well. And if he were to take a long time to get into this season and stuff and get back into the swing of things, that maybe could have hurt his confidence. But the fact he's back for pre-season, I'm sure he's going to be trying to get back to his best under a pre-season from Conte. Shouldn't need too long to get back in the swing of things from that point of view. So hopefully, once the season starts, he can maybe return to the form quicker than maybe if he would have come back in, say, October, November time.
I'm really, really happy that he's back. Really happy, because obviously we need to bring a right back in, as we know, or a right wing back. And we have to remember, it's 2 seasons at Wolves. He came second only to Trent Alexander-Arnold in goals and assists from that position, which is it doesn't matter who you are. That is an impressive stat, and he knows this position. And like you said, we started to see before he picked up his injury. And he scored the goal against Newcastle, didn't he? He scored a goal against Leeds, but the one with Newcastle running onto Harry Kane's cross, you could see him charging into the box to get there for that header. So I think he's got a big season for us. I really do. Don't get me wrong, I think there's an upgrade. We need to upgrade on him. But out of Emerson and Matt Doherty is far more important to me. And I think, like you were saying, he gets the role a lot better than Emerson. And I think he is really... I am very, very happy to see that he is back for pre-season. Very happy.
Yeah, me too. I think it's very important. Obviously, Ollie Skip, considering he was playing really well up until actually, it's weird to think that Skip has yet to play with Kulusevski and Bentancur. So we're yet to see how he performs in that kind of team. But he was obviously playing really well before his injury and surgery in January. So to have him back for pre-season as well, hopefully will boost his confidence. And he was one of the up and coming defensive mids in the Premier League when he was playing. So I'm super excited to have him back, and I can't wait for him because I think he's got a lot more levels to show. Ollie Skip, I think we're just seeing the start of it for him. And I know we've got Basuma, we've got Bentancur and Højbjerg, but I think he's gone under because of his injury. He's going a bit under the radar in terms of how good he is, and I can't wait to see him back in a Spurs shirt.
I'm a huge fan of Ollie Skip. I love him, and one of the things I noticed last season is I've said that you only notice how important a player is when he's out of the team. And you look at the beginning of the season under Nuno with the Chelsea and Arsenal defeats. He was out, but he came on as a second half sub, and he made a difference. All right, it didn't impact the results, but the way we were playing, he made a difference. He was having a great relationship with Pierre, and I agree with you. I think this kid has got levels to go up and beyond, and to have him back for me is incredible. I look forward to seeing him, and like you said, I think before that injury, do I think he might have got into the Qatar World Cup? Yes. Do I think it's too late now? Yes. But
probably, but you never know. If Phillips gets an injury or something, and then all of a sudden there's a spot, and if he's playing at an unbelievable level for 6 months, he might sneak in there. You never know.
He could. I think it would depend on his injuries, obviously,
yeah.
and others getting injuries now. Whereas I think if he'd had a full season and a half, he may have done it on form related. But it's great to see him back. New contract signed, and just to have him in the squad is a big plus for me. I love him to bits.
All right, that concludes all the topics. Let's look at a few super chats. Sorry. Oh yeah, one more. Sorry, there is one more topic, and this is coming out of Fabrizio Romano and Ajax and Sebastian Haller, and Haller is set to join Borussia Dortmund for a total of about 33 million. He seems to be the replacement they've identified for Haaland, and this could have a big impact on the Bergwijn deal, because now with Haller going to Dortmund, this is potentially could free up the funds Ajax need to spend that extra few million and bring Steven Bergwijn in for that slot. It's interesting to see if Bergwijn goes in to replace Haller or if he goes in to play as a winger, because as we know, Conte has liked to use Bergwijn up front. For Holland, more interestingly, they use him more centrally as well. So maybe Ajax see Bergwijn as an Haller replacement, as opposed to maybe going to compete on the wing, which could be interesting. But it looks like the Haller deal could be a catalyst for Bergwijn finally getting his move to Ajax.
Yeah, I mean, well, with Bergwijn, we know that it is there has been a contact made, there's been bids, but they are or inquiries, but the valuation is miles apart, isn't it? Apparently, so with them selling Haller, it's certainly going to free up a lot of funds that they can put towards this. I've never understood Bergwijn as a forward. I always thought him the best place for him would have been right wing back, but what he is doing at that position is very, very impressive, and that's maybe what Ajax want. They want a bit of a utility player that can play either or, and maybe his new position will be at centre forward. If you look at the two players, I mean, Haller is a lot taller and more powerful, isn't he? So it's not like a like for like. They may be trying a different style of play with the new manager. But yeah, I think this could be. I think the headline's right. I think this could be the catalyst to get the Bergwijn deal over the line. He's been very vocal about this now, isn't he? I think it's just best to cut ties, have a clean break, and off he goes. And good luck to him at Ajax if it happens or when it happens.
Yeah, completely agree. I think he's a good quality player and he's going to do very well at Ajax, but I just think it's the right time to move. But Haller, interesting. It's an interesting move because obviously he did really well at Frankfurt, I think it was, before moving to West Ham in the Bundesliga. Obviously completely flopped at West Ham and then went to Ajax, killed it massively, it was brilliant, and now he's going back to the Bundesliga and back to Borussia Dortmund, so I think that's a good move for him.
It's a good move. It's a good move for him. Obviously, he's been in Germany before, so he knows the league well, and it's big shoes to fill going in as Haaland's replacement. That is almighty shoes to fill, and we'll have to see how he does there.
Is there any chance you would have considered him at Tottenham? 33 million?
No.
Why? Because he failed at West Ham.
Yeah, he failed at West Ham. Not again. He could have done well under Conte, but I don't see him fitting into the system. Would you have seen him fitting into the system?
Well, he's a target man, and maybe with a two up top he could do well. Maybe as a plan B as well.
So you're Richarlison. If you had the choice now, Richarlison or Haller?
No, Richarlison I'd pick because I think he's better and he's more versatile. But I think Haller, if we needed a backup striker with a bit of presence, I think we could do a lot worse than Haller.
Oh, we probably could do a lot worse. I just wouldn't want him at Spurs. And maybe that's just me with my West Ham hatred.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably part of it.
That's probably a huge part of it, in all honesty.
Wouldn't be surprised. All right, that is all for the news. Let's go through some super chats. And the first super chat we'll go through is from Mark Mabbott Cousins TG. He says, Brian, you are forgiven for last night's king over Mabbott. Well, any context for that?
So I went on a stream. I went on Marlon's stream yesterday, and it was a really, really good stream. And I had to pick my Spurs Dream 11. Remember, I was saying it to you yesterday, and I was toying. I always do these ones with players that have played in my lifetime, not picking Greaves because obviously I hadn't seen him play live. And my centre backs was Vertonghen was the certainty, and I couldn't decide between Mabbott and King. I really, really couldn't. And then when push came to shove, I just went for King. And obviously Mark absolutely loves Gary Mabbott, hence the name. So he was very unhappy with me. But now I'm forgiven. So thank you, Mark.
There you go. Well forgiven. Shepster Boy with a super chat, message retracted, but thank you very much. Nate D says, we need a multi-positional player to apply his skill at wing-back, defensive mid or winger. Who could be that multi-positional player? Yeah, there are a lot of players like that who are definitely versatile. And they definitely become very vital. I'm just trying to think, who could anyone on our squad do that role? I can't think of anyone right now who's very multi-positional, except for Perisic, who can play on the left or the right, or even or the winger spots even. I don't see a player who can play wing back, defensive mid, or winger. No one's in the squad who could do. I mean, who in world football could do that? I don't know.
Exactly.
That's quite a big ask, but yeah, we definitely could do some versatility. Bob Spur TV. Big up to Bob. He says, I believe if we as a club go to the next level, our wants for the future need to be up to level 2. Instead of Hills, we need to be looking at Anthony's. In terms of our future, obviously we've got this state-of-the-art training facilities and stuff like that, and we'll look, and we've got some prospects like Scarlett and Alfie Devine and Parrott coming through the academy. Would you like to see us use them a bit more, these academy products, and bring them through? Because there seems to be sometimes a lack of pathway at Tottenham.
So people, in the chat, people in the back end, yourself will know. When it comes to the names you've just mentioned, I have been banging on about Alfie Devine for about a year and a half. This kid is going to be a world superstar. And I mean every single word, a world superstar. He is going to be absolutely brilliant. And I can't wait for him to be coming to the first team. I think with him now, he needs to go out on loan. But he needs to go out on loan to like a League One, like a Troy Pack, find a League One team, get some proper minutes under your belt. I think he's only just turned 18, and he needs to get that, because when he gets into the first team, he won't be going anywhere. He is that good, and you've seen his goal for England. We've seen the goals that he scored against Arsenal. This guy, I know for a fact through a connection that I had at Wigan. Through a family friend, when it came to his running stats and everything, he was like James Milner. His stats are off the charts for the full team. Even when he was younger, he is going to be a Spurs legend. That's how far I'm going. Like, when he gets into the squad, he will become my favourite player. When I do start buying Spurs merchandise, he will be the name and player of I have in the back. This kid is going to be incredible. Absolutely incredible. And he was doing this at Wigan. He's showing it at Spurs. Ali Gold even commented a few weeks ago, he's playing in the under-23s at 18 and he's running the show. And this is why they're now up in his progression and thinking, right, you need to go out on loan. There are players coming through. We've got the Raphinha, we've got the Walcott, what's his name?
Yeah, Walcott. I know you're talking about.
There are a few coming through, and yes, let's try and get them out on loan and get some first team minutes, because there is talent there. There is talent there, but I like I said, Alfie Devine stands out like a sore thumb for me, and I can't.
He's already got a goal for Spurs, hasn't he?
Yeah, I can't wait to see him as a regular Spurs player. I love this man to bits.
Yeah, I think he's gonna.
You know how David Ireland says Ireland's #1 Harry Kane fan, or the world?
Yeah.
Well, that's me.
You're Alfie Devine,
without a doubt.
Well, he could definitely be. He's got a big future ahead of him, I'm sure of that. Tinman 007 says, need to show intent in this window. Back Conte, no more excuses. Our top players will need to learn to sit on the bench at some point of the season. Show the big club mentality. We have the money. In a perfect world, yeah, 100%. I agree with that. And we need to be able to be in a position where we can rest or drop Kane and Son for a game or two, and have ready-made replacements to come in and not lessen the quality too much of the first team. And we need to be in a position. Look at the other top teams; they're in a position where they can rest their top players. Even in big games, they can do that, and it doesn't hurt them too much. They're still just as much of a threat, and we need to be in that position. And to be honest, even in years gone, we maybe last season not the perfect example, but there have been, obviously, when Kane's had injuries and other players have stepped up. So we have had those ability to play well without our top players, but we just don't seem to have the trust in the squad when Kane and Son are fit, that if we need to rest them, that we can, and maybe we need to be able to be in that position where we can in the squad.
Well, without a doubt, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's just, we shouldn't have to, when they get injured, have to say, right, we've got to rely on you, but we don't trust you. We're Tottenham Hotspur. We should be in a position where you say, right, if he's out, he comes in, and he has got more than enough about him and enough class and enough about him to do the job that we need to get done. And at the moment, like you said, or like we were saying at the end of last season, look at our bench. Our bench was threadbare, and now it's 5 substitutes. That's the other thing. We've got to remember there are 5 substitutes now. So you need a lot of quality on that bench, as well as on that starting 11. So this is why we've got to start making moves. Yeah,
I agree with that. Next one is from Sheps the Boy, and he says Zaha, Gabriel Jesus, Pookie, Tony, or Juan He-Chan. I'm guessing these are players he thinks would sign. Pookie, I don't think Pookie's up to it at Tottenham.
So Pookie, I can see why people are saying Pookie, because of obviously what he's done at Norwich. But if we're going to go down to the Championship, there's a few people that have said it during streams all over the Tottenham community. I would go for Emmanuel Dennis at Watford. That would be, if I was to go for a player that was not
20 million as well,
a first teamer in a European team or a Premier League or wherever we're going. If we were to take a punt at striker, that's where I'd be heading, Emmanuel Dennis.
What do you think of Zaha? Are you a fan of Zaha? I'm actually a really big fan of Zaha. I really like him, and I think
about Wilfred, Crystal Palace,
yeah, I'm a big fan of his, but he is now 29. I feel like we should have probably signed him like 3 years ago.
This is the typical.
But do I think he could do a job at Tottenham now? Yes. But I don't know if I would sign him at 29 years of age.
Yeah.
Because I think we need to start looking at beyond Kane and Son now, and players who maybe when Kane and Son are, really ending in their career, they're going to really step up. And I think Raphinha and Richarlison go into that kind of mould where in 5 years' time, when Son's 35, Richarlison will be hitting his prime. But Zaha is 29 now, so why would you buy a 29-year-old who's going to be... You're going to have to get rid of similar times when Son needs to get rid of him.
There's nothing more I need to say compared to what you've just wrapped it up perfectly. Yeah, a few years ago would have been good, but when you look at the age groups of the players we're trying to sign for, when these players do leave or when I just can't see Zaha. Did like him, did think he was a good player, but yeah, for me, no.
Interesting. What about Hwang Hee-chan from Wolves? You like him?
Do you know what? I did like what he did. He a big, powerful striker. So he impressed me. But again, like I said, my whole thing on this is Emmanuel Dennis. I don't think, if you look at him, his power, strength, ability. Yes, it was Watford. He started off blinding, but then trailed off near the end. I think he could do wonders at Spurs. So I would only say that would be the forward of choice if we weren't going for one of the big ones.
Fair enough. Deadeye Mike says, I agree with Brian. The 3 signings we got to improve us, but we all know what we needed at the end of the season. Left centre-back, right wing-back, cam and striker, and we have got none of them.
Thank you. That's like I said, I need to kind of say this again. This is not me going absolutely hell for leather at Levy. That's not what this is. This is me just saying at the moment, yes, it's only open a week, but we need these players in. And it's before pre-season or before career, not at the end of the season or the end of the window at late August when we've already played 4 or 5 games. Then they've got to get up to Conte's standard. Then they've got to fit within the team. Conte has repeatedly said, and reporters have repeatedly said, how pivotal it is that Antonio Conte has his players for a pre-season or by the time they go on tour for career. And that's what I'm getting annoyed about. That time is running out. Doesn't mean that window we're not going to get everyone. I'm just worried about that time frame. That's what I'm trying to get at. This is not a Levy out rant. This is not Levy out. This is not what I'm saying. I'm saying right now, before pre-season starts or career latest, is where that I'm getting worried about.
All right, fine. 1 sec. And last super chat. From Luke Diamond says, I don't get the frustration at lack of knowing what's going on with transfers. I'm glad we don't. That would be the sign of an amateur operation. We shouldn't know anything. 3 signings already. Patience. He says he likes the fact that we don't know a lot about what's going on, and he would rather we're going under the radar.
Okay, no, listen, I can see that when it comes to the player. I'm just saying, obviously. You look at, and I'm just going to use Jed Spence as the one. We know that this has been a problem area since Kyle Walker, and it's the players just have not been up to the standard. And we have said this one may be coming in, and this one seems to be, whether it be from the club or Conte or Paratici, this seems to be the one. And the fact that there is no bid, and all these conflicting reports. Like I said, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. Mm-hmm. It's just, like I said, this is all for me down to the time frame. I've got no doubt that big players will come in. That's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about them having a pre-season under Conte, so all the players are at the same wavelength for when the season starts. But I can understand what Luke is saying.
Well, we'll have to wait and see.
Exactly.
Because, nothing's decided yet. And Greg Excellence says, just sit back and let Fabio cook. Great summer ahead. So he's calling for patience. A few quotes coming from Thomas Frank about Christian Eriksen.
Well, here we go.
I thought I'll read them. I'll read them out. So he was asked, How do you remember the arrival of Eriksen during the winter season? The good story is I coached Eriksen in the youth ranks in Denmark. I knew him. I had a good relationship with him. And in October, my son called me. He said, "Dad, why don't you contact Eriksen and bring him in? He has to play football again." I told him he was probably right, but then I drifted away from the subject a bit because there was no sign that Eriksen wanted to play again. There were only small signs of his intentions, but then he already made it public that he wanted to play. Then my son called me again and said, "Dad, you really have to talk to him." And I told him that he was right. I called Christian in December. We talked a bit about life, and I asked him if he was considering playing football again, and he replied, "The funny thing is that I thought of you too. We could do something together." Eriksen wanted a safe start with a trustworthy coach in the Premier League in London. It was a very good game. I never had any doubt that he would come back to a good level because I knew he was undergoing all kinds of tests and he would be fine in that regard. He was convinced that he was going to play well, and now I hope we can keep him. He says, what were you surprised about Eriksen? He says, I might have been a little surprised at how quickly he got his touch back and made a real difference. Now you've seen him on TV for years, but when you see him train is when you really recognise his quality. And asked about whether Eriksen, if he knows anything about his future, he says, we still have a chance to keep him, but Eriksen has yet to make his decision yet. That's what Thomas Frank is saying. So he seems to be fairly confident that maybe he could keep him for next season, but he's claiming that Eriksen's yet to make a decision on his future, and maybe that's why everything's up in the air at the moment. Do you think there's a chance he chooses Brentford?
He could do. You got to remember there's a big Danish contingency at Brentford. They gave him a chance after the things that happened to him. So Brentford is a very, very viable option for him. And the fact that Thomas Frank has come out and said it, I think it now puts a lot more clarity on all the nonsense that we've heard over the last 24, 48 hours, doesn't it? Having actual words from Thomas Frank, their words now that I'm like, okay, this is where we are. That's the one thing now that I'm taking as, okay, this is where the situation is now. Brentford may be interested, Brentford may be putting something together, and we'll see where we go. But I'm happy Thomas Frank has come out and put some of these rumours and ITKs and all the others has given it a bit more clarity.
Yeah, definitely. So I have to wait and see what he decides. All right, now it's time to get some callers on.
Go to the bathroom.
All right, no worries. Let's start off with it's me, it's KPV. Was he there? Oh, he's crashed, I think. Oh, he's gone now. Is he gone? All right, bring him on. Hey, Carl, how are we doing, my friend? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, my friend.
Good to see you, as always. How's your day going?
Going good.
What do you think is going on with Eriksen? You tell me.
He's probably just messing around and playing mind games.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. He's probably just playing mind games, as everyone does. They're playing mind games with us, and yeah, probably playing mind games and not making a decision yet. Like,
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, hurry up, man, make your decision. We haven't got all week.
Damn right, exactly. Time is of the essence, isn't it, Kyle?
Yeah.
In terms of the question we asked before, Raphinha or Richarlison, who are you picking?
I'll probably stay with Richarlison over Raphinha all day long, because Richarlison is great. He can score stunning goals, and yeah, he can make blocks, and that's what I'm saying. But I'd go for Richarlison all day long.
Richarlison all day long. How happy are you that we're getting players back for pre-season like Skip and Matt Doherty? Because, you know, they had big injuries, but hopefully they're going to be fit and ready for next season.
Yeah, I'm really excited. There he is, Mr. Bryan Gil.
What's up, KBV?
What's up?
He
said, "What's up?" He said,
No, I am absolutely fantastic, my man. How are you?
I'm good. How's your day been so far?
It's been fantastic, mate. Chilling with Simeon and Jake. So how can a day get better?
Yeah, what more could you ask
Yeah,
for?
exactly.
Yeah, I'd probably go. Yeah, I'm excited for the players that are coming back for pre-season. They have been injured, but yeah, I'm excited for Skip coming back. He's going to
Yeah.
be brilliant, and
Is Skip going
I'm
to go to the World
excited.
Cup?
Huh?
Do you reckon Skip can go to the World Cup?
Well, I hope he does, and I hope Eric Dyer does. Why is Dyer not in England squad?
I agree. How is that? Why? I don't know why he's not there.
Yeah, I think
Doesn't make
Dyer's got
sense.
more of a chance than Skip, in all honesty, with the way the defence has been.
Like, he's got more of a chance than Harry Maguire has. Like, Maguire has been poor, but just put Dyer ahead of him.
I completely agree.
I'm saying that.
All right, definitely. Kyle, always good to speak to you, my friend. Always good to have
Yeah,
you on, and we'll speak to you very soon.
yeah, I'll speak to you soon. Back
No-
Conte.
See you later, Carl.
Nice one,
Yeah,
Carl.
mate. Big up.
That was the GOAT as usual, KPV. Let's bring on to a very clean looking Alex Samuels. Jeez, Alex. Never thought I'd see the day. Look at his, I don't see a crease in that bed.
Mate, I don't even see the bed.
Not a crease. Exactly. That's how good that's how
My
tidy
God.
it is.
I thought that was a carpet.
Unbelievable.
Jesus. Wow.
Oh, brilliant.
That's
great
a
to be on
standing
as always,
ovation.
guys. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh.
How are we doing today, Alex? We doing all right?
Yeah, no, I'm okay. Got a lot of work going on, but yeah, it's weird because it is quiet on the transfer news, but it isn't. There's like things like bubbling under the surface, but there's not like huge news at the moment concerning Tottenham, really.
Yeah, I
so,
mean, we're
yeah.
hearing about there's set to be huge news without the huge news ever happening.
Yeah.
I mean, a case in point with the Eriksen debacle at the moment, every kind of update seems to contradict the last update that we just heard. Even Romano gave 4 completely different updates yesterday. And it's like, he said 2 days ago, he said Tottenham have made a bid with Man United and Brentford. Then he said Tottenham don't see Eriksen as a priority. Then he confirmed that Tottenham are definitely interested, and he waits for Eriksen's decision. And then he said today that Spurs are yet to make an official bid for Eriksen. Which is like, I can't keep up.
Yeah, I mean, so many sources are saying different things. The one thing I will say is that a lot of the classic like Tottenham reporters have definitely heard from Spurs, and we know this, that they're saying that there's nothing going on with it and that it's gone quite cold. So you've just got to really, I think, pick and choose. I'm not sure how much Romano's probably more on the agent side. He probably hears a lot more. You've got to just kind of like pick and choose your sources. Who do you think's got the best insights? But at the same time, this is a very different kind of deal than usual, because you've got a free agent who, you know, is very in demand by we've heard a huge list of clubs. It's just, you know, Erik's he's a guy who's on holiday, probably get back from holiday, have a list, and then they'll work through the options and then they'll pick one. It's probably just as simple as that, really. They'll go through the financial options, the potential playing time and stuff like that, the project, and then he'll pick something. And, you know, I don't know when he's going to get back from holiday, but, you know, apart from all that, it's just either agent talk or speculation, isn't it?
Alex,
So,
do you think with Thomas Frank coming out with the statement or the words that Simeon read out have narrowed it down to a Brentford and Spurs thing, or do you reckon there's more teams still available?
Oh, well, it's so weird, isn't it? Because you hear 2 weeks ago that Brentford, from reliable sources, are out the race, and so it's, you know, it's so weird. No, I think Man United are still well in there, 100%. I think they're really going for him. But you know what? There is obviously something's happened with Tottenham regarding it, because, you know, Paratici was interested. Conte was interested in him. They both really like Eriksen, and then suddenly it's gone cold. So I personally, my personal belief, nothing backing this, is it's to do with either signing on agent fees or wage. I think it's to do with that personally, because look, if he's got a pick of 8 to 9 clubs potentially, why wouldn't you have a bidding war? And we know for a fact Tottenham do not like getting involved in those. So that's my personal belief as to what's happened with Eriksen. Nothing's backing that, just my opinion. So yeah, so it's I think honestly it's just a matter of time. And look, if we'll find out if we get him. If we don't, we'll probably, you'd like to think, sign a creative midfielder who personally I'd like to be Paqueta, personally. If it's
What would be your response if there was a report, I think, from Thomas Barkley saying that we've called our interest on Eriksen because we're happy to go forward with Basuma, Skip, Bentancur and Højbjerg. And what would be your reaction if that was the case?
Well, my opinion on that would be it's not enough. I feel like, I know it's really difficult because you've got to look at the source, who's reporting it. I haven't heard a lot of this person's work. I know he's for the Guardian, but I'm still not sure about this person. But if that is the case, that would be disappointing because we need that creative option. My goodness, we really need it. So yeah, we need someone that could be able to play in a 2-pivot or in a 3-man midfield. We need someone like that. Funnily enough, Lo Celso probably fits the bill, but obviously Conte doesn't really fancy him, ironically, because that's basically Lo Celso's position. Clearly doesn't fancy him though. So yeah, we need another creative option there because all of those players, yeah, they could potentially they do have creative output to a certain extent, but we need that one player who is solely focused on picking out that pass. In those really tough crunch games, where it won't be Burnley away, but you know what I mean, Forest away, or something like that sort of thing. We need that sort of player.
With there's reports with Arsenal getting this guy Vieira from Porto. Apparently, their interest in Tielemans has cooled down a bit. Would that be someone you might be interested in, maybe gazumping Arsenal for, or not? You're not that interested in getting him in.
I think the thing about Tielemans is he's got, is it 1 year or 2 years left?
He's got 1 year left.
From what I heard, they've activated the year extension.
Have they?
From what I can't remember who it was I heard. And I've got a very good friend who's a Leicester fan, but I think they have the, like we've had occasionally, the option of an additional year to make it a 2-year contract. I don't know if it has been done, but I think there are talks that Leicester are thinking of putting another year on his contract to get a bigger fee.
The problem is, if we just say it's a 1-year contract, if we just assume, because that's what we've kind of heard, that Leicester is still demanding quite a sizable fee, despite having only a year on it. If it's 2 years, then fair enough. But if it's around that, what was it, 40 million mark, I'd say probably avoid. Really.
But they're saying it's around the 25 million mark potentially.
Oh, 25 million, I'd probably do the deal. I'd personally probably do the deal. I think 25 million is probably worth. He's very young, and probably worth the risk. But for anything around the 40 million mark, if they have got 2 years, that's probably the sum you'd be looking at. Then I'd say avoid personally. But yeah, Tielemans is definitely an interesting one because Arsenal seem to be just all over that. And
but then apparently it's gone quiet now. That's what they're saying, which is interesting.
Yeah, because of the Vieira stuff. I'm not sure. Vieira's what? Attacking midfielder, I think, but can play centrally as well. I'm not entirely sure.
Vieira, yeah. I'm under the impression he's more of a number 10 who can maybe fill in a number 8, on occasion. But yeah, it's going to be interesting in terms of these other deals that we're hearing. The likes of Raphinha and Richarlison, obviously they're big money deals. Do you have a feeling that we actually are going to end up with one of these players, or do you reckon after Ford that we are going to end up with might be someone who's going under the radar at the moment?
I love an under the radar signing. I like it when Tottenham does that. I prefer that, like what happened with Basuma. That we know that Tottenham like them. We know that Tottenham like a lot of players, but we don't know that they're actively pursuing that deal until it's too late for other clubs to get on board it, because we've seen what happens with that. We saw it with Luis Diaz, saw it with William back in the day. So we need to keep these things under wraps with the caliber of player that we are going for in this transfer window, because Basuma could have easily been snapped up by a number of clubs if maybe they got wind earlier. So I much prefer Tottenham doing transfer business that way. I always have done. So yeah, it's weird because Richarlison and now Raphinha they're not sagas or anything like that, but they're names we keep hearing that Tottenham keep being interested in. And I'm not sure how many times that we hear these names. It does happen occasionally. Romero's probably one of them, which we heard about suddenly happening, and then we go as a bit of a negotiation, and then it got done. I'm not sure how many times we hear these names repeatedly, and then they just happen in the end. It is more, we have tended to go on the side of more surprise signings recently. Well, not surprise, but ones that ramp up quickly. So I would personally prefer Richarlison. I think I've said that on one of the shows about a week ago. I've always said he's so much more versatile than Raphinha, despite Raphinha being the better player. So yeah, again, it'll be really interesting to see what happens there, because I'd be gutted if Arsenal got Raphinha, because I think he's a great player. But you've got to worry about ourselves, don't we? And if we don't need him, we can't just buy him to stop another club getting him, even though they're right. You can't do that. So yeah, that's really my thoughts on that situation.
And what about your thoughts, Alex, on the 3 injuries that we heard coming back? Obviously, Matt Doherty is the one that stands out, because we thought it'd be a long, or a much longer time out. Were you surprised to hear of that, as I was?
Yeah, if Matt Doherty's coming back as soon as possible, that's great news, because he did pretty well. I was quite happy with Doherty when he was playing near the end of the season. Obviously, the injury was very unfortunate for him, because he was starting to do quite well. So yeah, great, and it's good to hear that Skip is getting along quite nicely, and because he's got such a big season ahead of him. I really want. I love Skip. I think he can do so well at Tottenham, and yeah, Tanganga's an interesting one, because I've been just doing some research on Tanganga, and every so often you hear about Tanganga and his agent keeps on saying, oh, he might not stay at Tottenham and stuff like that. It happens like every window. You kind of hear these things his agent says. I looked up his agent, and Tanganga, and I saw the list of his clients, and Tanganga is by far and away his most valuable client, and it would make sense that you try and get him a move, pretty from an agent's point of view. So one to keep an eye on, maybe Tanganga, and I'm not sure Tottenham would be too opposed to it, to be honest, if Conte doesn't fancy him, because I don't think he works as a right wing back. He was not great. I know he had injury issues this season, but he was not great in some of the big games this season, like Chelsea. In every game he played, he really struggled. I remember. So yeah, it's an interesting one. But yeah, as far as the other injuries, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Doherty being hopefully competing with Spence for that wing back role. I think that's really exciting. I'd like to see Doherty with hopefully a better 3 at the back as well, alongside him. And Romero will hopefully just get better, so we can cover him a bit more on that right side, the more defensive work. So yeah, look, it's really exciting times. I'm sure it's going to hot up in the next week or so, because the tour starts on the 10th, I think. So,
yeah.
So you got about 2.5 weeks ish, just over 2.5 weeks to get everything done. So yeah, I think we're going to hear a lot more. That centre back spot is a very interesting one, because it seems all over the place at the moment, doesn't it? The left centre back role we were getting. I mean, it's all gone dead. Stuff about Bastogne, which I personally think isn't. I know, Brian, you think Bastogne is going to end up a Tottenham player.
I really do. I really do.
I just disagree with you. Just breaking it for Fabrizio Romano just said the Inter manager is going to sign a new deal.
Simone Inzaghi.
Yeah, he's signing a new deal.
That's interesting.
So, yeah, which is interesting. So just something that potentially affects us. But you'd like to think with what was it, with Lautaro Martinez, that I know Alistair Gold said it I think yesterday, that in a video, that Spurs are probably hopefully maybe going to keep tabs on him and what's happening, because if you're getting Dybala and Lukaku in, it's a situation. You know, that's a very competitive front three.
But they said, I read the Inter Milan CEO was talking, I think his name's Murata, isn't he? And he said that he was asked about sales this summer, and he said that it's a lot easier to replace a centre-back than it is to replace a striker.
Yes.
So it's very much more likely they sell a player in that position. So I think Skriniar's most looks like the one who's about to leave, doesn't he? That deal's probably going to get done. So I can't see Bastogne happening.
I since the stuff his agent went to visit Inter HQ and Bastogne put the blue and black hearts on Instagram in response to a post, I thought it's been over personally. So I respect you for hanging in there, Brian, though.
Mate, and it's me that's doing it. It's me that's clinging on here, and I still think this is going to...
What percentage chance, sure you?
I'll put it above 80%.
80% sure.
Okay.
80?
Yeah, I'm going to... Do you know what? I'm going hard. I really think... And listen, Conte is rumoured to have said, like, this is the one he wants. This is get at all costs. And don't get me wrong, I've understood, and I actually appreciate Bastogne coming out and saying he's loyal to Inter Milan. That loyalty is so important to me in my life that I can understand that. But if this Skriniar deal does not go through with PSG, they need this money. They need this money, and we are here. And I always said, if Levy gets this one over the line, I will be like, wow, that's something I could be like. Do you know what? Maybe this time he severely is backing his manager, because he has said this is the man now. I know I've been saying as well about getting players in before pre-season. This one I don't think will get done before pre-season, but I don't care when this one. I'd love it to be done before pre-season. Don't get me wrong. But Inter Milan have said they need this money by the 30th of Jan, or they want to have raised it by 30th of June. So if they haven't, that's when I think they'll go, okay, Spurs, come on, let's do this. So I think this will be first, second week of July.
But if Skriniar does sign, would you for PSG? Would you agree? If
Skriniar goes to PSG, then that's it, dead in the water. I go down from 80 to 0. But whilst neither of them have left Inter, I'm sticking my neck out. I'm praying and pleading that this one gets over the line, because I think he'll be the addition that we desperately need, and I think he will be at Spurs for many years to come. And then you think about him and Romero, that is a partnership to whet the appetite. So please, 80% until Skriniar leaves for PSG, then dead in the water.
Well, I'll tell you, if they don't sell anyone, I mean, these interlinks always end the same way, don't they? Like, it's always in sadness. History shows us. I don't know what it is. Like, Inter and Tottenham just really don't do like you had the end on Bele stuff that they tried to get him from us, and that never happened. Martinez, Skriniar, Bastogne now. You know, I think we should just take Bremer from them personally, just to up yours really. Just go and get Gleason Bremer and sort that deal out, because that'll teach him a lesson.
I agree.
Yeah, I'd love him, but I think we've probably covered everything.
Yeah, definitely. But Alex, always good to see you, my friend. Good to have you on as always. And we'll speak to you in a bit.
Speak to you soon. Bye bye.
Nice one. A bit of breaking news about the Jed Spence deal coming from Lyle Thomas, and if there was any wonder why there's been a delay on the deal, I think we're about to find out. It says Tottenham are set for further talks this week over the signing of Middlesbrough's Jed Spence. Here's the kicker. Chairman Daniel Levy is understood to be personally leading the club's pursuit of the England under-21 right-back, leaving Fabio Paratici to concentrate on other targets. Initial talks between Spurs and Borough were not successful in finding an agreement. The North London club indicating they believe his worth is in excess of about 10 million. Borough, however, want at least 15 million plus add-ons, so this conversation did not go any further. Spurs remain keen, however, are discussing their next approach, with the player also determined to join Conte's side. Tottenham as a club want to bring more young English talent in this summer to back up the develop under their more senior players. So Daniel Levy is understood to personally be leading the charge for Jed Spence. So is any wonder why it's taking so long?
No comment. No, I mean, literally, this is what I said no comment, then here I go. This is what I was getting annoyed about. And like I said, this is me being calm, but it's, again, how many times have we lost out on players for 10 or 5 mil? Or 3, 5, 10 mil?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just pay the money. You want him. If it's 20 million and they want 15 million up front, then the rest of it, pay it. Don't barter over 5 million when you've just injected 150 into the squad. That's the bit that annoys me. And when we hear no bid has been made, but there's it. No comment. I go back to I plead the fifth, as we would say.
Well, if Borough are asking for 15 million plus add-ons, is that a fair deal? Would you say, or do you think Spurs are right to hold out for 10 million?
He's a England under-21 international. You think about the English tax.
He got Young Player of the Year.
He got Young Player of the Year. Do I think he is Tottenham's #1 right back going into the season next season? No, I think we can get a stronger, more experienced player to do it. But for an England under-21 international that has just been named, that, like you said, got into Team of the Year, that is got the English tax and could go on to something, pay 15 mil. Pay 15 mil, get him as a Spurs player before pre-season so Conte gets him. That's all we ask. That's all we ask. I would pay 15 mil up front.
I heard that Levy is personally in the deal because the agent of Jed Spence is the son of Harry Redknapp, I think. I think it's Harry Redknapp's son or something like that, or someone related to Harry Redknapp.
Oh, and look how that ended up with Levy.
And so that's why Levy's the one personally negotiating the deal.
Of course. There's got to be a reason somehow how he has to get his way in the deal. Listen, we'll see what happens.
What's Paratici doing then if everything else is left up to him?
I've
movement.
I've got that. Yeah.
Nah, I'm kidding. I'm sure he's up to some stuff, but hopefully we get some deals over the line. We've got a super chat from Cody Frost. He says, if we don't get Bastogne or Pau Torres, who should we go for after maybe Ndika, a left-footed tall centre-back, or is Davis enough to fill the role? Love you guys. Come on, you Spurs. Look, Davis has been great. You got to say that. Davis has been brilliant under Conte. So I do think that even when we buy a centre-back, Davis is going to get a lot of game time and he's going to be playing that role. And Ndika would be a good option for me. I really like him. I think he would be a very good option left centre back. If we don't get Torres, Gvardiol or Bastoni, he would most likely be next on my list, I would think, probably in terms of options, because 1 year left on his deal, 22 years of age, same agent as Basuma, definitely a deal to be done there.
I agree with you, Ndika, and I'll confess I didn't know a lot about him until we did the update on Sunday. I'd seen him play, but obviously not enough of him. And then you read out the stats and his attributes, and then I went and looked at stats and did what everyone else does, and I did a Danny Rose, and I Googled him and I YouTubed him, and he looks like a real powerhouse that could be just a ticket. But I agree with you, Ben Davis has had an incredible season. And I think he's going to be competition for Ben Davis. Obviously, this player coming in may get more minutes, but I think as it's gone from let's get a replacement, it's now competition, isn't it? Between Davis, he has done. Davis had a fantastic second half of the season, and I fully expect him to get minutes next season. But I do think he needs upgrading on.
All right, let's bring on our next guest, and that's going to be Michael. How are you doing, Michael? You all right?
Yes, hello lads. Long time no see. I hope you can hear me.
It's been a while. We can hear you loud and clear, mate. Loud and clear. How are we doing? You know, it's been the summer is going the right direction at the moment with good signings and some signings on the way. How are you? How do you analyse the summer so far?
Yeah, honestly, I'm satisfied for now because I do realize what Brian's point is, that it's getting kind of iffy because there is not that much time left till the preseason. But I'm calm because I have this weird conviction that we are working in a different way. The Bissouma deal kind of convinced me of that. Just because nobody expected it, nobody reported on it, and suddenly boom, there it was done, right? So I believe that there is a lot of things that we don't know about, obviously. But often Tottenham used to like work quite openly, in my opinion. That everybody knew who we are going for. Everybody knew like that we are interested in someone. And I feel like there is plenty of targets that we probably don't even realize we are in for. That's at least my feeling, right? And I'm positive so far because Conte said that he wants players before the preseason, not 2 weeks before the preseason, right? Not 3 weeks before the preseason. So I still believe that there is plenty of time for the business to be done. And yeah, positive. And buzzing with the 3 signings we have so far. I think that Bissouma is an absolute steal. I have no clue how we landed him. Well, probably by working secretly. And with Perisic, I'm also buzzing with him, and can't wait for the ingoings and can't wait for the outgoings, right?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the outgoings might take a bit longer.
Yeah.
What's your opinion, though, on what you've been seeing on the Eriksen deal at the moment? A lot of conflicting reports. We've heard that Eriksen does have a verbal agreement with Spurs. A lot of conflicting reports, though, from very reliable journalists saying that it's all gone very, very quiet on the Eriksen front. Thomas Frank coming out today saying that Eriksen is yet to choose who his next move is, but he is hoping that he will choose Brentford. What's your thoughts on that potential deal, and do you even want it to happen?
Yeah, so basically, before I say my opinion, I want to prefix it by saying I have nothing against Eriksen as a person and as a player. I do believe that he has a lot of skill and he would be useful in our team. But I have a feeling about our club that at least I hope that something is changing, that there is like new way of thinking in our club. And frankly speaking, I want us to start like with a new project. Everyone that didn't want to be part of that project in the previous years, I don't think we should go back to them. And I'm a bit conflicted because I do realize how much money we can save by signing Eriksen instead of someone of his quality for like at least 40 million, right? But as I said, nothing personal against Eriksen. If he came in, I would welcome him with open heart and come on, impress me like you did already in the previous years, right? But if it could be someone else, I wouldn't mind it at all, and I wouldn't be mad if he went to another club. It's just that I do believe that we need someone of his quality, but I would prefer for it to be someone else, right? But yeah, as I said, if he came in, nothing against it, but my personal preference is someone else, right?
Who is that someone else, Michael?
Oh, there's plenty of names, and it depends if how ambitious we are, and how much money we can spend in this position. Because, like, I've been talking with David Harris about it yesterday on his stream, right? And I believe that we could solve our defense without signing someone as expensive as Bastoni. Because Bastogne is like what will be 65, 70 million if someone were to snatch him from Inter, right? But I believe that we could sign someone for cheaper or do a clever deal like Pau Torres and Lo Celso come to mind, right? I still believe that Pau Torres has a lot of quality. Maybe he's not as good as Bastoni, but I think he's perfectly fine for what our ambitions are and how our defense works, right? And then in that case, we could probably spend the money in front and in the midfield. And like names that come to mind are Pellegrini from Roma. I know he would be as hard to get as Bastoni, right? Milenkovic Savic from Lazio, Dani Olmo from RB Leipzig, Szoboszlai, I think that's how you pronounce his name, the Hungarian guy from Leipzig too, right? I feel like there's plenty of attacking midfielders that we could get for like money that we are talking about spending on the defense. So like Madison, Tielemans, all those names would be perfectly fine for me and would be a sign of ambition. So yeah, that's my opinion on it. Well, of course, what the club does is what they do, and I'm open to being like surprised, and I'm open to welcoming new players in. So as I said, if it's Eriksen and really like good defender, I'm fine with it. Just my personal preference, I would do it the other way, right?
Who else in terms of personnel do you really want to bring in going to before the preseason starts?
Yeah, so I'm personally not that convinced about Spence. I do realize that he shows a lot of a lot of room for improvement to be a really good player, but I feel like for now we should focus on getting someone more experienced who can fill this role immediately, and we can rely on his quality instead of like gambling a bit, right? Because when we bought Ryan Sessegnon, he was like pretty much this similar type of player that Spence is right now, and we all know that it didn't work for the 2 years that he was here, or is it 3 now? 2 or 3 years, right?
He
He's here
just
now.
finished his third season, actually.
We got him for 30 mil, didn't we? It was around the 30 million price, so he was even more expensive than Spence.
Yeah, and only in this season, he started showing like something, but he's ruined by injuries. And of course, Spence hasn't shown like that he's injury prone, but he's a risk in my opinion, and I would prefer someone like someone older, of established quality, and someone who could possibly fill like one more role. And I have a couple of like names in mind, and it will look like as if I want to rate RB Leipzig, but Konrad Laimer, he's like a perfect guy who can fill multiple roles on the pitch. Like even this season, he played right wing back, he played center defensive midfielder, and he played center back and someone in front. Like they pretty much been splashing this guy all over the pitch, and he had good notes and good performances in all of those positions. So I believe that he could be someone. I'm still in massive love with Filip Kostic. I was so impressed with him during the Europa League run that Frankfurt had, right? And in terms of like the front three, I really like that we are in for Richarlison, because he is a versatile player that could most likely fill a lot of roles in the front three, and I think that's what we need, because I feel like we'll keep Lucas Moura for this season, and in that case, if we brought someone like Richarlison, we would have 5 really quality players of somewhat different profiles that could fill different roles and different formations, right? Because you could play a front two of like Richarlison and Kane, for example, or Son and Kane. You could play a front three where Richarlison was in the middle, Son on the left, but you could also play Richarlison on the left and Son and Kane through the middle, right? So we would have a lot of flexibility, and I really like Richie. Of course, if it's someone else of his profile, again, I wouldn't mind. It's not that I'm like super convinced about Richie that it has to be him. But I think there is a lot of exciting times ahead of us, both in terms of the transfer window ahead and in terms of the season ahead. I'm really positive. I'm really positive about it.
Okay, very, very good. Michael, great to chat to you, mate. Good
Always
to
a
have
pleasure,
you on.
buddy.
And we'll speak to you very soon.
Yeah, as always, guys. Pleasure
Speak to you
to
soon,
speak
buddy.
to you. And hope to see you and hear you soon.
Nice one, Michael.
Top man he is.
All right, that was Michael. We've got a super chat here from. Oh no, we don't. I read that one already. Looking at the poll that we put out earlier in the stream, there's 1,876 votes on the poll so far. 54% say Richarlison, 46% say Raphinha. So people leaning towards Richarlison at
You're
the moment.
brainwashing. Your subliminal messaging that like you've done to me over the week has caught up with people. But yeah, I'm surprised it was a little bit further. I thought it was going to be like 51, 49, something like that. But there's a bit of a gap.
All right, next person we were going to be talking
Ladies and
to
gentlemen.
is someone who gets battered everywhere he goes. It's a Spurs talk show. It's Sean Butler. Let's get him on. Yeah, how you doing, Sean? Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, Sim. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. So surprised to see you nice and sober in the morning. It's all good.
How are you, Shawnee boy?
I wouldn't go that far. You're making certain assumptions there, and we don't want to make assumptions. It's bad. Yeah, I'm good. Brian, how are you, mate? How are you?
All good, buddy. Long time no see. I left your show at about 11:30, didn't I, to make my way here? So I missed that show, but it's good to see you again, buddy.
Again, I'm surprised by your poll. I agree with Brian. I think Sim, you're brainwashing people, mate.
My brain powers are infecting the Spurs fan base. Why? Are you very much in the Raphinha camp?
Purely because I feel like Richarlison can play in he's the triple threat. He can.
Oh, my brain.
No, of the two, I think Raphinha is. Listen, Raphinha's more sexy. He's a sexier player. Like he's someone that can excite you and stuff, but he can't play as a 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
He can't. And why I wanted to come on to you guys was to kind of posit, like, have a discussion if I can for the few minutes I have, where because I believe that, and this was the source or the statement that I was making on my show earlier. I believe that like we think it is when it comes to certain positions at Tottenham. Like of the two, if you give me the option of Raphinha or Richarlison, like, I'm probably going to pick Richarlison because he can play in the 9. He can play in 2 of the roles that we maybe need backup for. And we were talking, and Brian was on the show earlier, and Brian was saying, and Danny Kiriakou and everyone else was saying, let's just go for both. Right? Let's go and spend 50 million on one, 50 million on the other. And I'm saying, like, I don't think it's an area of the pitch that I would much rather go and find someone that's not Richarlison or Rafinha that can play in both. And I mentioned it, I posted it before. I think someone like Emmanuel Dennis can do the work and play than Richarlison has this season. He is tried and tested in the Premier League. Okay, he's only had 1 season. But for me, if we want to go and find the methodology to solve for how do we get to the Manchester City level, then for me, you have to figure out a way, to stay solvent at the back. Goals from the last 14 games, right? So this focus that we have at Tottenham Hotspur of trying to figure out, don't get me wrong, it's important to improve there. But for me, the most important thing we have to figure out how to solve for the 25 points we dropped from low block teams over the season. And for me, that doesn't require £100 million. That is absolute. I'm hearing myself in my own headphones. It requires getting a right wing back and a left wing back that are that can cope. For me, if the reason we get after a Hakimi, if it's possible, or go and get after a Dumfries, or go after the left and go and get a Kostic, someone that can help us figure out the low block system, because we didn't concede that many goals second half. Absolute mastery in the right and left wing back spots, which I don't think we have. Even if you have Jed Spence, I don't think we have that. Quid on forwards, I don't know. For me, it's not as important.
I hear that. One sec, bear with us, Sean. What's it?
Yeah, it's gone down.
Bear with. We'll try and get that back up and running. Should we just try and restart the internet?
Oh, we're back up.
It's
I'm happy to say it again. I'm happy to say my shit again. It's a mic drop. I can double mic drop it.
Badly. What's the speed test saying? Apologies, guys. Just when Sean was in his full flow. All right, I think, are we back up now? Is it still lagging? One sec. I think we might be. Are we all right?
Are we good?
All right. I think you're back up now, Sean. As you were saying quite eloquently before the lag obviously got involved, you were saying that to solve our striking problems, you don't believe that we need to spend the amount of money that has been spouted. You think we can do it with a lot cheaper options. But the question being, Sean, is with Champions League coming up next year, you know, we can't afford, maybe unlike Conference League and Europa League, where you can probably afford to rest players and play a weakened side. You need very similar quality coming into the team as are coming out. And is that possible if we're going for cheaper options in the forward line?
it's not about the cost, right? It's about for me. To answer your question directly, yes, it is. So for me, I just think that there's suddenly this. I did a stream earlier. It was a 2.5-hour stream, and I had some really great panelists on it, and they were saying go and buy Raphinha and go and buy Richarlison, and I was like, what does that mean? Does that mean that you're okay with Jed Spence? Does that mean that you're okay with, like, getting Clement Lenglet on loan as a centre back? Are you okay with the consequences of doubling down on whatever you want as a striker options when it's not, for me, the most important thing? I take your point that we need to have, of course, we need to have backup in every single option, but for me, I think it's a situation where I think we have money to spend, but we haven't got a bottomless pit of money. And for me, we have the area where we're strongest in the squad is in our forward line. I'm not saying that I've got no problem with buying Richarlison for a reasonable amount of money. I've got no problem with buying Jesus or a Raphinha. I've got no problem with doing that, but I just feel like if that's going to take away from the amount of money, if that means that the best we can get at right wing back is Jed Spence, then I don't think that's not the right way to do it. I personally would suggest that the most important areas for us to focus on, even ahead of a centre back. I'm not saying that we don't need to improve in that spot, Sim, Brian. We definitely need to improve, but we only conceded 5 goals. Right, from the last 11 games.
Correct.
We only did. We conceded 8 goals from the last 15 games. I'm not saying that Davies and Dyer are the option. I'm not saying that. But if we can go and get a right wing back, if we start the season and our 3 right wing back options are Jed Spence, Doherty, who's injured, by the way, and I'm coming from someone that's dislocated his knee 5 times and has had the injury that he's recovering from 5 times, ligament damage. I know that you never trust your knee again. So we don't know what version of Doherty's coming back. If he comes back and we have Emerson Royale and Jed Spence, I'm terrified. And even if you look at the left wing back spot and you have a guy in Sessegnon, who, as much as I love him, is injury prone to the point of, like, you got to be worried about that. If Reguilon's goes back to Spain, then we have a 33-year-old who's world class, don't get me wrong, but a 33-year-old who you're going to rely on to play 40 games in a year, that's a worry for me. And if you have Sessegnon who gets injured whilst recovering from injuries, for me, it's a concern. Rather than going and spending 100 million quid on some additional players to add to the forward line, that's not where we should be spending our money. We've got more money, but we haven't got that much money. For me, sorry, Brian, I think we should be going hardcore on the right wing back, hardcore on the left wing back, hardcore on a Christian Eriksen replacement if Eriksen doesn't want to be a part of the Tottenham rebuild. And for me, where you can save the money is go and buy someone like Emmanuel Dennis, who will cost you 20 million quid and can play left, right, and centre. He might not be as good as Harry Kane, Sonny, or Kulusevski, but he can do a job.
So yeah, sure. What I want to say on that is that when it comes to defence, I am with what you said about the bigger money going to defence. I am completely, totally, and utterly on board with you, 100%. When I was saying that earlier on today on your show, what Danny was saying and here today, when it comes to buying a Richarlison and Raphinha, when I said go get both, I mean 2 players of that kind of quality. That's the quality that we need. But I would rather, much like you, Dennis up front, go get a Bastogne and or a player of that ilk and a right back of that ilk. Where I think the biggest surgery or the biggest amount of money needs to go is on that defence. So I am completely with you on that, and most definitely with you on Dennis. But what I meant is obviously,
would you rather go and spend, like, get Clement Lenglet on a loan deal? I did a show on the stats. Clement Lenglet over the last 2.5 years is up there with Gvardiol, right? In terms of on every meaningful stat, he outperforms Bastogne. He certainly outperforms Pau Torres. He outperforms Ben Davies, Sven Botman. The only one that competes with him on every meaningful stat is Gvardiol. Obviously, Gvardiol is going to cost you 100 million, so that's probably unlikely. But if you can get Clement Lenglet in on a loan deal, would that not free us up some money to go ridiculous, go like silly money? If you've seen the news out about Paris Saint-Germain's debts, they lost 250 million euros last season. They lost the same the season before. I don't know how they're getting around the FFP stuff, but like the reason why they haven't paid the money up for Skriniar is because they probably can't justify it. Would you not go and bid like silly money for Hakimi, 100 million quid? Just get it done, and then you've got like that. Hakimi for me, the right wing back. If we can solve for the right wing back like we have with the left, that to me is like exciting to the point of. Like,
you think that's more important than getting a left centre back in?
Yeah.
That's your number one position, Sean, right wing back.
Yeah, I understand where he's coming from, because if you think who performed better in their roles last season, Ben Davis or Doherty and Emerson?
Ben Davis.
You have to say Ben Davis performed better in his role, so he has to be more trusted when it comes to the left centre back role.
And you can go and get Clement Lenglet on loan. You can't get a right wing back of Clement Lenglet's value on loan. The right wing back spot is few and far between. Right? There's not that much available, and if you want to go and get it, you have to pay for it. The problem for me is Inter Milan controls so much of the market this summer for not just for Tottenham, but for so many teams. They control Dumfries' future, they control Skriniar's future, Bastogne's future, Martinez's future. What they decide to do with Lukaku, Inter Milan are like the kind of keystone of a bridge of so many teams' summer transfer windows, and I just think, like, let's avoid that. Let's not wait for them to shit or get off the pot. Let's go and get Bremer from Torino, get that done for cheap, and then let's go and get Paris Saint-Germain interested by paying them 100 million or whatever it costs, 80 million quid.
What about Ndika? What about Ndika for about 20 million from
100%.
Frankfurt?
Exactly. We don't need to worry about Inter Milan are not a necessary part of that cog. I feel like there's too much of Tottenham's focus and attention is based on what Inter Milan decide to do. And it's something that is it's a concern. It's a concern for me. I think there's other places you can go, but for me, the right wing back spot is far more important. Solving for that in a big way is more important than solving for the centre back spot in a big way, and especially the striker role in a big way.
I agree with that in terms of I do worry a bit if Spencer's our only purchase in the wing back role. That does leave a lot of question marks, whether he's ready to play a lot of Premier League minutes and he's ready to make that step up, whether, as you say, Doherty's going to be the Doherty we saw in April, February and March. And Emerson, obviously Emerson's looks like he's going to be on his way out anyway. But part of me would like to sign Spence and then loan him out and get him a loan deal and then buy another one. That's kind of what I would like to see. But it looks like Spence is coming in, definitely playing the first team. That's what it looks like at the moment. And maybe we're convinced. Maybe we are convinced, because he did play very well in the FA Cup, didn't he, against Premier League teams? So maybe we are convinced he can make the step up. But there are big question marks. I definitely agree with that. And I mean, Hakimi would be brilliant. What's your opinion on a potential deal for Eriksen? What do you think about that?
I'm trying to figure out why it is that he's twisted on the concept. For me, I'm figuring out in my mind whether it's down to Manchester United paying more money, and that there's an argument there that he'll get more game time at Manchester United, and that if he's demanding 200 grand a week plus, then like at Tottenham, are you going to play enough? And that is traditionally a 3-4-3, and then have the option to go to a 3-5-2. Are you going to play enough to justify a standard wage of 200 grand plus? Probably not. So maybe that's why there's a little bit of hesitation. I would have preferred it if he got on board with the situation of saying, here's 150 grand a week to keep you happy, but where we'll make up the difference is we'll significantly improve you on basically performance-related pay, right? Like you're paid to play, you're paid to score, and you're paid to assist. But if he's someone that looks at Manchester United, this is like the stream I did earlier on was all about how much of an influence is game minutes on a player. Like Tottenham fans would hope that they can say that the draw for Tottenham is Champions League, Conte, playing alongside the best strikers in the world, playing alongside Romero and Hugo Lloris, playing with the best training ground, playing with their stadium. All that stuff sounds great to Spurs fans, but to players like Eriksen, Gabriel Jesus, Sterling, etc., maybe having to compete for your space is not as attractive. as it sounds to Tottenham fans, you know, maybe they just go, well, I can, because it's a World Cup year as well, right? So maybe people like Eriksen are going, or Sterling or Jesus or anyone else is saying, I don't care. I'll go to Arsenal. I'll get 90% of the games. At Tottenham, I'll get 50. So I would love Eriksen to come in because it would be a very cheap, even if it's an expensive wage, it's technically a cheap option to solve for the problem with the low block. But I also don't care if he decides to go to Manchester United sim, then, you know.
Do you believe we needed someone, a player of his profile? Do you believe the squad needs that?
Yeah. We need somebody who can thread the pass when you've got a 5-4-1 against you and they're squeezing the middle.
Sean, let me add.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to add to that, Sean. Where would you put that? Like you said, right back is your number one option.
Yeah.
Where is a creative midfielder? Like if you were the manager in your list of priorities, right backs first, then is it Eriksen or an Eriksen-esque, or is there a left centre back or forward?
No, right wing back is first, and then the guy that can thread it in the middle is second.
Okay. Simply
because if you look at like when we played against teams last year like Brighton, and they just compressed the entire, they made the entire game based essentially 50 yards across the pitch. They cut out the final 25 yards at either side, and then they made the game about 30 yards deep, right? And so if you can't beat that, even if you have an Eriksen, you still can't beat that unless you have the threat on the left and the right. And Brighton turned around and thought, there's no chance that Sessegnon's better than our right wing back in Tariq Lamptey, and there's no way that Emerson is better than Cucurella. Right? So even if we had an Eriksen with the way that they set up, we couldn't have split them apart. But by having somebody who's excellent on the right and excellent on the left, we've got Perisic on the left now, so hopefully that's a solve. But we don't have anyone excellent on the right. But what we do need to have is everything. We need to have someone in the middle who can break it down if that's the way that the opposition sets up, where they go wide, then you have space in the middle. And if you don't have space in the middle, as against Brighton, then you need to have trust in the wings. And we don't have that either at the moment. So for me, it's right wing back first option. Then you need to get the cam sorted. And once you've got that, then you go to the centre back. And after that's done, then you go and find someone in the mid at the striker level. And for me, in order to make all of that happen, you don't need to spend 100 million quid on strikers or forwards. You need to go and get someone like Emmanuel Dennis, 25 million quid, get it done. And that allows you just to go and spend more money on the areas where we need to focus. That's how I would do it.
Interesting. I think that's very interesting. In terms of Eriksen, do you believe he could play if we did bring him in? You said he's worried about game time, but I think there's 3 roles he could potentially play in a system. I think he could play in a 3-4-3 against maybe. I would say he can play in the pivot in the 3-4-3, maybe against bottom half teams when we got a lot of the ball. He could play that role. 3-5-2, he could play centre mid in a one of the 3 centre mids. And I also think he can play in a 3-4-3 as one of the two attacking midfielders behind Harry Kane on the right hand side. So if that's the case, you don't think he surely would get enough game time to justify a move?
I think you could sell that option to him. Where I think the breakdown is, and I'm massively speculating here, but I'm speculating in as much as Manchester United have got money, they've always got money, there's no issue there. And I think that they would come to Eriksen and say, we'll give you 250 a week, right? Or whatever it might be, something insane like that. And Tottenham would look at that and say, are we actually going to compete with Manchester United at 250 a week for a guy that may, to your point, and I agree with you, Sim, he can play on the right, he can play in the Kulusevski role, he can play in the 3-5-2, but are we going to offer him that? Whereas I think that there's some element of like accountability here that where they're going to say, look, he's not going to play as many minutes, he probably isn't going to play as many minutes, therefore can you really justify giving him the top spot in the salary cap? And if that happens, then you have to pay Sonny the same probably, and Harry Kane the same for sure. And so Manchester United aren't worried about that stuff, but Tottenham probably still are. And so I just feel like, for me, Christian Eriksen is always, I don't know, I have this idea that Christian Eriksen's a little bit, and there's no issue with it, but he's singular minded, right? He's 30 years old. he probably can get more guaranteed minutes. He's definitely going to get offered more money at Manchester United than he would at Tottenham. I don't think we're competing with Brentford. I don't think we're competing with Leicester. I saw we were competing with Leicester today. I don't think that's really an issue. For me, I think it comes down to Spurs or United. As much as I agree with you, Sim, that he can play in 3 or 4 different systems, I still think that it's going to come down to the amount of money that Manchester United are going to offer him would make him the highest paid player at Tottenham. And I don't know how Levy or Paratici or whoever are going to feel about giving this guy top stack in the salary rankings when he might be plausible for certain scenarios, but ultimately won't be necessary in every scenario like a Harry Kane will. And if you pay him the more money, you've got to pay other people the same, and it's complicated.
Oh, fascinating. Sean, it's been great having you on as always, mate. Good to chat to you. I feel like it's been a while since you've come on the show.
Has been a while.
But look, look, we're missing you, so don't be a stranger. But great to have you on as always giving very, very good points. And we look forward to seeing you very soon.
Cheers, Sim. Cheers, Brian.
Nice
See you later, Sean, brother. I'll speak to you soon,
man.
Cheers, guys.
And go subscribe to the Spurs Talk Show if you haven't already. He does so many live streams, as Brian was telling me. So make sure that you go and do that. There has been a bit of an update.
Oh, here we go.
On Bastogne.
Oh, come on.
It's not one you're gonna like. It's not one you're gonna like, Brian.
Oh,
Bastogne's agent, Tinty, on English clubs being interested after meeting the Interboard. He said Bastogne will stay at Inter Milan next season 100%, as we are used to respecting contracts. He said, with Simone Inzaghi, we have reached an agreement, and with that closes the door on Bastogne, he says. That's what he claims.
No. No.
It shouldn't be a surprise.
Mate, that was my shred of I'm excited that this one could happen, and this one was the deal for me that meant so much. This was the deal. Oh, man.
Doesn't look like it's going to happen at the moment.
Although I will say,
until it's over, it's over.
Exactly.
But
I will say as well, and I forgot to say, Iggy did message me as well whilst we were talking about Italy and whatever. And he did say to me, we have to remember the Italian window doesn't open till July the 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So things can't be officially stated, officially announced, officially whatever. So there could be a lot of movement there. But that is not what I wanted to hear. Not what I wanted to hear at all.
Well, that's not great news, but look, hopefully it forces us to push on to other targets if we believe it's not attainable. But apparently he is the one Conte really, really wants. But it looks like Bastoni reiterating again that he is not going to be joining Tottenham this summer. We'll have to wait and see. Bring on, I think, is our final caller not our final caller, but our next caller. Bring on Brandon Troller.
This dude, big up, Brandon.
Brandon, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey,
oh, good, Brandon.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, what a shirt! Look at that, absolutely stunning stuff. Rocking it up, come on, actually representing. Come on, guys, come on. Yeah, we're doing good, Brandon. Good to see you, mate.
Oh, it's fantastic to see you both. Put a smile on my face. Thank you.
Come on. What's your? How are you feeling at the moment with proceedings, and where would you like the transfer window to go from this point?
Well, I'm a little bummed out by the Eriksen news, but you know, you could roll. If Conte thinks we don't need him, well, I would disagree. But you know, hey, all hail.
Do you think there's a lot of conflicting reports? It's hard to know which one to believe, isn't it, Brandon, when it comes to Eriksen?
I mean, look, if you're getting a guy in on a free, what is he asking for? 200K? It's not pocket change, but at the same time, I mean, we owe that man quite a lot, you know. And unfortunately, I don't think our club, at least in the hierarchy, acts on merit all too often. There's not a real sense of sentiment within them. And yeah, they're cold, hard, calculating businessmen. I get it, but we owe that man Eriksen quite a bit. You know, his time at the club. I mean, he was an absolute linchpin. He carried us through some potentially, what could have been better times, but were still great times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if anything, I'm sure they would be able to recoup most of his salary on on jersey sales, etc. You know, I mean, he's a top man. It's just sad that we're not pulling the trigger right away, because I think it's clear from all reports that he would love to come to our club if we're willing to pay him his due, right?
You think that's what's holding it back?
I mean, if you got Manchester United over there offering him, I doubt they're going to give him 300,000 a week. But if that's what they're offering him, I mean, we gotta we're not going to be able to match that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, of course. With Man United offering very, very big wages, do you believe Eriksen would be in terms of what we need from a midfielder? He's really the right profile of what we should be looking for right now, with Basuma already through the door.
I mean, yeah. If we're getting rid of Lo Celso, then we need a little bit of a attacking, creative spark coming in off the bench, or to start a game here or there. But I don't think that's what Eriksen wants. You know, he's fought back through quite the scare to be able to come back and perform at a very high level. So I mean, from his perspective, why would you want to go come off the bench for the whole season, right? Because realistically, is he going to be starting day in, day out for us? Probably not. And I know they were able to resolve the differences at the end of the day, but over in Inter, there was a long spell where Kante and Eriksen didn't exactly see eye to eye, right? Mm-hmm. And I think you have to look at that, and it makes sense why there's a little bit of hesitation. Do I think it's dead in the water? No. Would I love for us to get a new Eriksen coming into the door? Oh, yeah. But, you know, what am I going to do, huh? I'm sitting on my butt in Jersey right now. I got no control over Levy and his nonsensical dealings. I mean, you're talking about the Jed Spence deal. Oh, my God. What are we doing?
Oh, I miss
we
you,
not
Brandon.
have enough pull over Nottingham Forest? Get out of here.
Brandon,
where
where was your view on the Richarlison and Raphinha?
Oh, Richarlison. You know, Rafinha's a better player, but Richarlison just offers us way more versatility. And honestly, I think Raphinha is just very one-dimensional, right? And he's going to operate in a very high level out in the right wing. But we already got a guy who can operate on a very high level out in the right wing. We need a guy who can operate on the right wing and the left wing and through the center, you know? I think Richarlison is potentially the perfect player to come in. Now, whether we're going to be willing to shell out the amount that we should be shelling out, according to Everton, I don't know. You know, they overpaid a little bit when they got him from Watford. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that we have to overpay to get him now back from them? Probably. You would think that there would maybe be a little bit of goodwill that we basically gave Dele Alli to them for free, but probably not. Probably not.
Well, in terms of what Sean was saying in the call just before, he was saying that in terms of prioritizing where the money's being spent, he doesn't believe we should be going all out for an attacker in terms of spending 50-60 million on attacker. We should spend that money maybe getting a very high class wing back or maybe a centre back. What's your opinion in terms of if we were to push the boat out in one position, which position would you like to see that be?
I'd go all out for Gvardiol. Get him out of Leipzig. I know Bastogne's a fantastic player, but trust me on this one. This man, this Croatian center back, yeah, he's a little younger than Bastogne, and he is, oh my God. I mean, anyone who watches the Bundesliga will tell you this man was one of the best center backs in the Bundesliga. You know, Ndicka was up there too, but Gvardiol is younger, and he can operate as a left back even, you know. He's versatile, and the man can get forward like a gunner. Oh man, not the bad type of guy, the good type, you know. And he's a beast. He's a beast on the ball. He's a beast off the ball. You're not shoving him anywhere. I need Gvardiol up in the club, please. I mean, what would it take? 60, 70 mil? Take it. He'll be worth 90 mil in a couple of years. He's that good. He's a generational talent. I'm telling you. And not to say that Bastogne isn't, but Gvardiol is as well. They're on the same level, same playing field to me. And if we can't get Bastogne, I don't understand why we wouldn't be able to get Gvardiol, right? Like, I know Leipzig.
Because apparently he's up to, they could be demanding about 80 million. He just signed a new contract.
Well, if we were prepared to pay the release fee for Martinez into Milan, and we don't go there and we invest heavily on defence, then that means technically the money's there, doesn't it?
We were.
Yeah.
We were well, the rumours were 90 million euros, weren't it, for
Yeah.
Martinez? Yeah.
So no, it was 105 million euros, which was 90 million pound, wasn't
Which
it?
we never win that.
But no, we never. But I'm saying if we were talking about that and we were seriously discussing that, then the money Brandon has just said for the player is there. So if we need to push the boat out on a player, if they're saying 90 million Martinez or whatever, if a player comes up, and I can see Brandon's very, very with this. I'm going to let your hands do the talking, Brandon.
You're speaking gospel right now. It's ridiculous. Okay, this is why I believe that these reports are hogwash. If we were actually to put in a 90 million bid or 80 million bid, whatever the heck it was for Martinez, then what are we doing? I mean, how up our butts are our heads right now? If we're really gonna go ahead and try and reinforce the one position we do not need, like it would be very good. We need another attacker, but do we need Lautaro Martinez through the door? No. Would it be fantastic? Oh, of course it would. But we don't live in Looney Tunes land now, do we? No. We need to be realistic. Get Vardio through the door. If Bastogne's not going to happen, get Vardio right now, because I'm telling you, he's leagues above Torres, right? He's above Ndeka. I mean, he's that good. He's that good. He's basically, the way I describe him is Ben Davies on supersonic steroids. I mean, the guy is a absolute pit bull in the trenches, and that's what we need. And he's a guy who's gonna be able to learn very well from Davies. He's also gonna be able to provide us cover in the left flank if we ever so needed it. Because again, he's that versatile. He can play left back. He can even play left wing back. He's that good on the ball. Lautaro Martinez is fantastic. Beautiful player. If we were living in a better land, then yes, we would be able to get both of them. But we're not. We're living in the land of Levy. And until that changes, we need to be specific. We need to pick and choose our battles. And this is the one. I'm telling you right now, this left center back position, Davies is a quality player. But we need another guy. If Davies were to get injured, we're done. Who's playing on the left? Davinson? No. Tanganga? No. I mean, seriously, it just doesn't even seem like a question. It's not a debate. I mean, am I wrong here?
Well, here's a question. Our defence was actually pretty good last season, wasn't it? When Conte took over, we conceded, I think, 5 goals in our last 11 games. They really did step up when we needed them to, our defence. So when it comes to what we really need to upgrade on, are we better off maybe spending a bit less and getting someone else at centre back and then going all out for a wing back where we did struggle a lot more? Or do you think it's more important? Or do you think Spence is adequate wing back to bring in, and we're better off spending bigger money on a centre back? Would you be happy with Spence, Doherty, and Emerson as our options?
I wouldn't be thrilled, but I'd be happier than without him. If I think Spence has the potential to be a very good player, but I forget which caller it was earlier, compared him to Ryan Sessegnon. It's a risk. It's a risk we're taking. I'm down to take the risk, so long as we go and sign at least 2 other defenders. Maybe one other wing back and 1 center back, or 2 center backs, one of whom can, also double as a wing back. I mean, I just think we're severely underestimating the intensity that it takes to play, the conditioning that it takes to play under Conte, and the fact that we're going to be competing in 3 big cup competitions, right? Not just cup competitions, but you got the Prem, the Champions League. We haven't been there in a couple of years. It takes a lot, and it's especially under Conte. I believe that it's going to take a decent amount of rotation if we want to be successful in the Champions League along with the Premier League. I mean, there's a reason that Conte's clubs have never really done that well in the Champions League. It takes so much out of them to really operate in a system in an effective manner. And so we need cover. We need cover at the back line. I think we would need at least 1 more midfielder. Probably not going to happen this window, at least. Maybe that's one for after the World Cup. Right, but I mean, Conte's got. I'm sure he's learned. He's a smart man. He's learned from his lessons. He knows we need cover. We're going to need to rotate a decent amount. I mean, I think the honest answer, unfortunately, is just we need cover everywhere. You know, we need at least one more player in attack, one more midfielder, 2 more defenders, and then we're solid. Then I'm comfortable with where we're at going into the next season.
Brandon, if you could choose between signing Hakimi and Gvardiol, which one would you choose?
Well, we're not going to sign Hakimi.
Yeah, which one? If you had a choice, I can offer you one or the other. Which one would you choose?
I mean, I'd go Hakimi, I guess.
Hakimi.
Because he's that sauce, baby. Oh man. Whoop, 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 down the wing. No. He's unbelievable, but we're not getting him. But yeah, I look. Is Spence our most realistic target to get in at right wing back? Probably. Mm-hmm. So for that reason, let's go ahead and get him. Maybe we're lucky and he's worth 30, 40 million in a couple of years, or maybe he's Sessignon 2.0. Who knows? Who knows? Not I. I am not a scouting mastermind. No. So, yeah, I want us to just get in any of our targets, you know, any of them, please, because it's starting to worry me. You know, you've got the filth over there, you know, the gooning filth. They're starting to do business, man. And if they get Raphinha in, look, they're the guy they just signed out of Porto. He's a top talent, you know.
You reckon?
And yeah, oh, he is. And you know what? I'm very, very skeptical still because, look, yes, we did good business, but we have to remember we already sold Cameron Carter-Vickers for $10 million. What a coup, by the way. $10 million for CCV. Wow.
Yeah. Brilliant deal.
So we've actually only spent 19 thus far. It's not very much. You know, yes, we've had great transfer window. Perisic on a free is a master stroke, but that's not Levy. That's Paratici and Kante. Nobody else. You know, it's starting to worry me that we have so many reported bids or strong interests. Yeah, get us one more guy through the door. Kante say we need all our signings before preseason starts. Listen to the man. His system is so demanding. They need to be there. We can't dilly-dally for another month or two. Every day is costing us. Correct. During the season. Every day we go without signing these guys. We need to pull them in, put our intentions down on the table and say, this is Tottenham now. We get shit done.
Brandon, let me ask you this. You know a lot. Do you watch a lot of Italian football? Right? Belotti on a free transfer.
Ooh. No.
Would you be, no, you wouldn't be interested in that. He's a consistent scorer, no, in Italy.
Belotti's a strange one. You know, I think that. Oh man, I think we could do worse, and I don't think he would be a flop. But I also don't think that he is the type of player who would be able to rotate. He's the type of guy who, for his entire career, everything's been centered around him. Torino's a whole entire system is around Belotti. He plays week in and week out, right? You take a player like that, and then you ask him to come and be a bit part, right? Coming off the bench here and now, and then maybe starting once or twice in a system that is, again, not built around him in the slightest bit. Belotti is a different type of player than Kane. He's a very, very great finisher, but doesn't have the all-around attributes that I think you need to thrive in a Conte system, you know? I mean, if we're really looking to get another attacker, and if we're looking in Italy, I would actually look over to Atalanta. Try maybe get an Ilicic through the door, something like that.
Zapata.
Less Zapata. I mean, Zapata could be a great impact sub, right? But I think someone like an Ilicic, who is a fantastic ball player for a center forward, you know. He really is. He really is. And I think I'm surprised how people aren't swarming over Atalanta this summer. I mean, they've missed out on European football for the first time in, I don't know, who knows how long. I mean, I'm sure there's unrest there. I'm sure there's players that want to get out of there, right? You know,
it's because they didn't have Romero. That's why. That's right.
I mean, yeah. Why? You know, I would rate them. You know. I would go for sure Zapata over Belotti 100%, and I would go for Ilicic as well. I would even go for, if we're looking to sign a player to play a bit part on a free, go to Dries Mertens out of Napoli. There's not been a lot of buzz about him. I mean, Why not? He's been a very, very, yes, he's old. You could sign him on a 1-year deal, very, very similar to Perisic. You know, I would rather us go ahead and sign a Dries Mertens or an Ilicic, and then get a beast of a center back and a freaking beast of a right wing back, than go ahead and get a Lautaro Martinez and, you know, settle for chips.
I agree with you.
Elsewhere. I mean,
Right.
do you agree or no?
I do. I think defence is where we need to sort out first. Yes, like Simeon said, the defence was very, very good, but at the end of the season. But that was when they called upon, like you said, Brandon, it's a very, very demanding next season and a World Cup. So the strength in depth there is definitely needed. So I'd rather go cheaper on attack and more on defence, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. And I've rang it before, but I'm gonna say again, Gabriel Solina, goalkeeper, Chicago Fire. Real Madrid put in a bid for him. Chelsea's trying to put in a bid for him. Apparently, we're linked. We need to get that man through the door. Loan him back out. But I'm telling you, 2-3 years time, he would replace Lloris like a glove.
There we go.
Man,
Big talk.
This guy's gonna be good. So
All right, I have to take a look at him. Brandon, always great to speak to you, my man. Good to have you on.
Before I head, I just wanted to say, Brian, I really appreciated that mental health podcast y'all put on that a few months back. Excellent
Cheers,
work,
brother.
fella.
Cheers, brother. We'll be doing another one, hopefully during the summer or at the start of the season. But Brandon, it is always a pleasure speaking to you, my brother. Always a pleasure.
Fantastic, fellas.
Nice one,
Enjoy your
Brandon.
day.
Speak to you in a bit, mate. All right, that was the always great Brandon Troller. Fantastic call as always. Let's go to our next guest after Brandon, and that's going to be George. Hey, George, how you doing, man?
What's
Good
up,
to see you.
George?
How you guys?
Yeah, we're doing okay. We're just trying to piece out from the little updates what we seem to think is going on. When it comes to Christian Eriksen, it seems impossible to know what's going on. I mean, we've personally heard that he has a verbal agreement with Spurs. A lot of high reliable journalists are contradicting that, although they always seem to be all contradicting each other. So where do you land at the moment on the whole Eriksen thing? Do you think he's... there's still a good chance he comes to Tottenham, or do you think the fact that it's gone a bit cold, according to some other journalists, that may mean it's highly unlikely?
I think it's still in the balance. I think we've got to sort of put sentimentality to one side, and if he's obviously the best that we can get, then of course we need to get him through the door. I've been sort of saying for a while that we need a creative midfielder. I fully understand everybody's concerns about the wing back roles, but it becomes less of a concern if you've got somebody in the centre of the park who can play a decent ball through. And also we've got now Bissouma, so Bissouma is only going to help the situation. So I mean, I've got a theory why the form of Eriksen originally started to deteriorate, and that was it coincided with Dembele leaving, and the fact that he had far less time on the ball. I think with Bissouma there, playing him in that role could work really, really well. So I've seen us being linked with anyone else. So it would be great getting him through. But it's the whole tangled web that Paratici weaves, where who knows when, where, how, and who, and we'll be linked with everybody, and until finally we sort of manage to get people to get the players through the door.
In terms of how you assess the squad right now, Sean was saying, he was having a discussion on history about people spending big money on strikers and 50 million on Raphinha and 50 million on Richarlison and even on the centre back, people saying spend 50 million on Bastogne. But, we don't have, obviously, an unlimited pool of money. If we were to really push the boat out on one signing, say, if we could only spend 50 plus million on one position, which position would that be for you?
It's a tricky one. I mean, in your poll, I went for Richarlison, but I can understand the attraction of Rafinha. if you're going to play Rafinha, you're going to play him on the right-hand side. If you play him on the right-hand side, then I think what you're going to have to do is push Kulu further back and perhaps play Kulu as a right back, as a right wing back, which I understand that there was murmurings before that there was the potential of. If you can do that, then that gives you an added versatility, which would then kind of explain why we're not pushing for the right wing backs at this moment. But we've got to understand that this is now we've done 3 pieces of business so far. Granted, 2 of those were free, and we're spending theoretically up to about 30 million with add-ons, I understand, on Bissouma. So it's not so far. It's so far so good. I don't think this is going to be the end. I did have to smack my head into the desk when you read out the fact that Levy was spearheading the Spence negotiations. Luckily, I regained consciousness quickly enough to take the sort of to take the stream. But we are so behind at the moment on signings. We need somebody like Spence to get to come through the door, and he's young. He's exceptionally talented. I believe that he would be to Conte what Dele was to Poch. He's got that brashness, that slight arrogance about him, and he's not fazed by playing against larger, bigger teams. He looks as though he would thrive. I really do feel that we need to be trying to get him through the door as soon as possible. I do think a lot of him. We're linked to a lot of players at the moment, which gives me a lot of hope as to try and the guys we are being linked with, they are all top notch. I mean, when you're being linked to players like Jesus, when you're being linked to Raphinha, when you're being Richarlison, and when all these players can do a job, they're all relatively versatile. So look, I think there is hope here. I mean, Conte will spend the 150 million. Trust me, I don't think there is much concern to be had there. But it does concern me when I hear that Levy is spearheading a particular signing. That does worry me a little.
Apparently, it's because he's family friends with the agent or something, and that's why he's involved in that particular deal.
That would just worry me even more.
that's right. But George, obviously you've been watching the stream. I agree with you that I think the money will be spent. Are you with me in just thinking it won't be spent before the career trip, and it may be a last-minute dash at the end of the window again?
Yeah, I think, look, we're talking about football here, and we're talking about signings. I think that's inevitable. Managers are going to push to have things done sooner rather than later. The sad reality is that there is a domino effect. You need one player to be sold, and then everything kind of sort of springs into action. I don't think it's deliberate. I don't even think it's deliberate on the part of Levy. I just think that sometimes the penny pinching pushes it, exacerbates the situation in that regard. I don't think we can do much about it. But it's with the players that we are being linked with. It's just so refreshing that it's those players as opposed to like you say, your Danny Rose described having to Google and everything else. It's good. I think we're heading in the right direction at the moment. Touch wood, it continues to go that way. Bad news about Bastogne, but then again, it could all happen again. I mean, it's not the first time his agent has said this, and like as you rightly said, their window hasn't even opened yet, and we're only 2.5 weeks into ours.
Yep.
So let's hold a bit of hope, and they're linked to another couple of players in that position anyway. So yeah, it's for me. I'm quietly hopeful. I would like to see Jed Spence through the door. I do think that he's a quality player, and if you really think about it, when we originally bought Dele for whatever it was it 4 or 5 million? I mean, things have tripled since then. So again, if you look at it in those terms, If you're saying that his true value is probably around the 15 million mark, you're asking for 20. Look, just meet halfway, or give them a little something. Just get the boy through the door.
All right, George. Great to see you, mate. Great to speak to you as always.
Great to speak to both you guys. And listen, I like the calm Bryan Daigle at the moment.
I'm loving
now.
Bryan Daigle.
It's got a time limit. It has a time limit.
Yeah, I did see you getting a bit concerned there at times, Sim, turning over and screaming.
No, I'm being nice, and like I said, I'm being nice and calm. Nice
It's like a ticking time bomb, and every cut wire is a new signing. But we have to keep cutting the wires to make sure it doesn't go off.
I should have the you know, like with transfer window deadline day, they have the stopwatch there.
Yeah,
I set my countdown for when I erupt or explode and go nuclear again. But yeah, we're a little way away from that, and hopefully I won't need to.
Sim, are you sure, by the way, that your brother's on his honeymoon? He's not sort of in talks with Paratici after him seeing yours and his exploits on the field, which I
can't reveal anything, George. Well, we're sworn to secrecy. I can't reveal anything. He tells me he's on his honeymoon, but you know, that's the party line. That's the official party line.
Listen, tell him it was a Stonewall pen. I thought so anyway.
I'll let him know. George, always a pleasure, my friend. Good to speak to you. I'll see you very soon.
See you later, George, buddy. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on. Always good to get George on. Is that all right? That was the last call of the day. Oh, near over 3 hours stream. Absolutely gigantic stuff today. Thank you everyone again for joining us. Go and subscribe to Tottenham on Tour if you haven't already. The link, I believe, I've put it in the title. So go and just click the link, subscribe to Bryan, give him some love. He's obviously got great streams. Birthday
anniversary love. Tomorrow's my 43rd birthday and my 8th wedding anniversary.
Everyone get on the subscriptions for his birthday. Come on, people. Come on. Bryan, always a pleasure to have you on, my brother. Speak to you all very, very soon. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you again for all the super chats, the comments, the likes, the call-ins. Appreciate all you guys as always. We'll see you again for another transfer stream very soon. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.